There's a man, a legal wizard, with a podcast you should hear. Andrew Branca's name, the self-defense pioneer. He knows the law, the ins and outs. He'll take away your fears. His expertise is unmatched. It's crystal clear. The law of self-defense. This book that you must read. 5 elements laid out. He's got all you need. From innocence to eminence, he'll break it down for you. Andrew Branca, he's the voice that rings true. Andrew Branca, the self-defense guru. He's got the knowledge, the skills, he'll fight for you. Andrew Branca, the master of the law. When it comes to self-defense, he's the one you should call.
Good morning, everybody. How awesome was that? Someone sent me that over the weekend. A fan sent me that over the weekend. I thought that was great. I don't know if I'll ever play it again, but it sure was fun to get. I hope you enjoyed it. All right, so today, welcome to the Law of Self-Defense show. Hope that woke everybody up. I am, of course, Attorney Andrew Branca for the Law of Self-Defense, and we are here to talk about this. The Apple River trial. Nicolae Miu on trial for murder and 4 counts of attempted murder for stabbing multiple people during a river float, surrounded by 13 angry, shouting people claiming he was a pedophile and a raper of little girls. Knocked him down with a punch, pushed him into the river, pushed on his back, face down in the water, smacked him a few more times, and Nicolae Miu came up with a knife, stabbed 5 people, 1 fatally, 4 non-fatally, but most of those pretty seriously. And it's claimed that he punched a woman, so he gets a battery charge as well. The image of this woman, who appears to be a character from SpongeBob SquarePants, will be a witness in today's show. So we're covering today day 3 of the trial, the second half after lunch, day 3 of the trial. I'm playing catch up. The trial started last Monday, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was busy doing other things. So I only started live streaming this trial on Thursday. We're still catching up. Today, the actual trial will be on day 6, and we're finishing day 3, and hopefully going deep into day 4. I hope to catch up on days 5 and 6 tomorrow, and then we'll be live for Wednesday. And I would expect things to be wrapping up by the end of this week. So far, it's been the state's case in chief. They've presented mostly witnesses who were participants in the group that initiated the confrontation with Nicolae Miu. Many of the people who got stabbed, people from a second group that came over to help. Some of them got stabbed, and most of their testimony has been hard to believe. Actually, feels orchestrated and coordinated over the 22 months since this event happened. Nicolae Miu's been sitting in prison, to my knowledge, for 22 months. $1 million bail, no bond in Wisconsin, I'm told, so he doesn't have $1 million. So for 22 months, he's been sitting there. The burden, of course, is on the state to disprove his claim of self-defense beyond any reasonable doubt. And I've seen nothing so far in this trial that suggests the state can do that. Lots of hand-waving, lots of claims that, no one else had a knife, only Nicolae Miu had a knife, as if that matters, as if the question isn't whether outnumbered 13-1, pushed into the water, quadruple bypass surgery patient, whether Nicolae Miu could have had, under those circumstances, a reasonable perception of an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury, which would be what he needs to justify his use of deadly defensive force. So far, in parts 1 through 4 of my coverage, we've gotten all the way through to lunch on day 3 of the trial, and now we're proceeding with the second half of day 3. All right, so let's start the formal launch of today's show. And today's show is brought to you by none other than Law of Self-Defense itself in the form of our upcoming Law of Self-Defense Advanced class. This is our full-day class taught live by me, streamed to you at your computer. We only teach it twice a year. It's the class that teaches you how to be hard to convict if you're ever compelled to use force in defense of yourself, your family, or property, all in one day. I assure you, Nicolae Miu wishes he had taken this class before he floated down the river, July 30th, 2022. If he had, and he'd adhered to what we teach, he almost certainly would never have been charged in the first place, much less have spent 22 months in prison, in jail, awaiting trial, and looking at a real prospect of spending the rest of his life in prison if he's convicted. In that course, we teach everything, really. We teach you the 5 elements of self-defense, the building blocks of any claim of self-defense, and the targets of attack for a prosecutor. Looking for a vulnerability in your claim of self-defense, we teach defense not just of self, but of others, your family, your neighbors, colleagues, strangers, all different in how they're treated by the law. We treat defense of property, both highly defensible property like your home, least defensible property like your pets, believe it or not, are least defensible property. All that varies in terms of how much force you can use to defend that property and under what circumstances. We talk about interacting with the police in the aftermath of a use of force event. There's at least 3 distinct interactions you have with police, and say nothing to the cops may not be the best strategy for each of them. So we talk about that. We talk about how you can devise your own legally sound, customized self-defense strategy for your circumstances, and much, much more. Now, we only teach it twice a year, this class. So if you missed this one, it'll be October at least before we get to it again. Do you know when you're going to be attacked? Can you afford to wait to take this class? Nicolae Miu waited. Too late. It's too late to take this class after the event. You need this knowledge, expertise, insight on board when the attack happens. And that's not up to you. The bad guy chooses the time, place, and manner of attack. If you do have a conflict for Saturday, April 20th, I would tell you to register anyway, because we will make the playback version of this class available for at least 2 weeks after the live class, so you can watch it at your leisure over that period. But we only send that link out to registered students. And we're still in the 50% off early registration period. Learn more and sign up right now at lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. That's lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. All right. Let's see, where am I here? Whoops, I got to find out where lunch was. Let's see. Okay, and I apologize. I'm going to cough from time to time, folks. Believe it or not, I'm still getting over this cold. It's been a couple weeks. Just taking forever. Whoops. Share this. Also, I will be playing the proceedings at 1.25 speed, just so you're aware. This is not the speed at which these people normally speak. A little bit about the characters involved. So we have, let me pull this up so everybody kind of has a sense of what we're dealing with in terms of participants. Nicolae Miu, of course, is the defendant here. The judge is Judge Michael Waterman. He's done a great job, very much in control of his courtroom, smart guy, decisive, doesn't like time wasted, doesn't allow nonsense between the lawyers, does not like speaking objections, so they come up to the bench for that kind of stuff, which is unfortunate from our perspective because speaking objections are entertaining, but keeps things moving efficiently in the courtroom. The prosecutor is Carl Anderson. He's actually the elected district attorney in this jurisdiction. Not that common for the actual elected DA to be lead counsel, lead prosecutor on a case, but he is. He's being assisted by Brian Smestad, another prosecutor. Defense counsel, lead counsel is Aaron Nelson. He's been doing a very good job. And second chair appears to be Corey Tarafisi, who you may remember being second chair on the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, where he did a fantastic job, especially on cross-examination. And he's been doing a great job on cross-examination here as well. And then, of course, we have the various witnesses coming through. So this is immediately after lunch on day 3 of the trial, which would have occurred this past Wednesday. Here we go.
Here she comes. We'll talk about it later. Ms. Miu, please come forward. Please face the clerk. Raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes.
Please have a seat in the witness chair. All right, Mr. Anderson.
Can you say your first and last name?
Sandra Mue.
And Sandra, you were
This would be the wife of the defendant. So this would be the wife of Nicolae Miu. An interesting facet here is there appears to be some confusion, even all the way from opening statements. Of course, the state made the first opening statement, which is the normal process, followed by the defense. And Carl Anderson, the prosecutor, noted that the defendant, Nicolae, was formerly married, was married to Sandra Mue at the time, suggesting, of course, that they're no longer married. The defense in their opening simply referred to Sandra Mue as the defendant's wife. And I think there's some confusion within the defense about whether they're still married or not. I believe the conclusion is they're not. Now, this could potentially have implications for spousal privilege, meaning that you can't compel someone's spouse to testify against them in court. But what if she's no longer the spouse? Now, the way it's supposed to work is the communication that occurred while you were married remains privileged. You can't compel the ex-wife to testify about communications with her husband that occurred during the marriage. After the marriage, there would be no such privilege. So let's see what happens with all of this.
on the river with Nicolae on July 30, 2022.
Yes.
And do you remember him leaving your group at some point?
Yes.
And then do you remember some sort of commotion?
Some sort of what?
Some sort of commotion or disturbance?
Yes.
Did he come back to your group at some point?
Yes.
And was your group all pretty much all together then?
Yes, I think so.
And was Nicolae saying things when he came back about what happened?
I don't know if he did then or this when he came back the next time.
Okay, so he left twice.
Mhm.
So after the second time he came back, was he saying stuff about what happened?
A little bit, not much.
Did he talk about his knife?
Hmm. Yes.
And was that when he was talking about that, was that when he was back with your group?
Yes.
So did multiple people hear him talking about that?
Objection, no foundation.
Sustained.
Were you guys standing in a group?
Objection, Greg.
It's hard for me to understand what you mean by group, so.
Yeah, sure. How many people were in your tubing group?
I think there was about 8 of us.
And when Nicolae came back, if you remember, were you guys sitting down in your tube, standing together?
Objection, Greg. My point is, I think it's about whether Nick was talking to Sandra. So when he says you guys, is he talking about the entire group? Is he talking about these two?
When he came back and was talking about what happened, was it to just you or multiple people?
I think it was just me at the beginning.
And then later?
So the prosecutor
I
is
think he talked to someone.
focusing on this. Was it just you or other people? Because he's trying to get around the spousal privilege issue. If the communication is also with other people, then it's not privileged. The same would be if you were talking to your attorney, by the way. Of course, there's attorney-client privilege, but if you're speaking with your attorney in an environment in which you would reasonably know other people are overhearing you, that's not privileged communication.
Someone else while we were on the tubes.
And you overheard some of that conversation?
Not much of it. I couldn't hear what they were saying.
Okay, but if do you recall speaking with law enforcement?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you recall doing interviews with law enforcement?
Yes.
And do you remember if you told them about hearing what he was saying when he was talking to other people?
I don't remember.
Okay, but it'd be in the transcript.
It could be.
And so when you said he was talking to you, where were you? Were you by other people?
When he came back to us, you mean?
Yeah.
No.
Where were you?
He was standing on a little sandbar. They were in the water.
And where were the other members of your group?
In the water.
How close?
I don't know.
I didn't pay attention.
5 feet, 10 feet?
Probably 10.
Was Nicolae speaking loud enough for other people to hear?
Objection, no foundation.
Was he whispering, talking in a normal voice,
I don't remember.
animated?
I don't remember.
You who was he talking to while you were tubing?
Amy.
Objection.
I'm
Sorry.
confused. Tubing when?
When you were tubing to the exit.
Amy.
Okay. And that's Amanda Torres?
Yes.
If other people talked about what Nicolae said when he came back, is that, if you know, did you tell them about it or would they have overheard it?
I didn't tell anybody.
Okay, so if other people knew what he said when he came back, it means they overheard what he was saying?
Objection, leading. Inaccurate.
This is voir dire, so I'm going to give some latitude so we can get to the core of this. So overruled.
You didn't tell anyone else what he told you?
All right, so the
No.
judge just said this is voir dire. This may essentially be kind of a mini hearing to determine whether or not the court's going to compel her to testify or whether her communication with her husband was privileged. So the jury would not be in the room if this is voir dire.
Okay. And then while Nicolae has been in jail, you guys have spoken on the phone?
Yes.
And on those recordings, does it say these are being recorded?
Yes.
That's at the start of every phone call?
Yes.
And at points, Nicolae has talked about the case.
He tried. I stopped him,
And sometimes he'd say something about the case before you could stop him.
but I didn't. All I kept saying, if you're going to talk about it, I'm hanging up the phone. I don't want
Right.
to hear it.
Sure.
So
And
he never got out very much.
no,
A couple
but
words.
some stuff he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's it.
Mr. Nelson?
So you were asking questions about the conversations that you and Nick had after he came back the second time and you're standing on the sandbar.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
During that, you considered that to be a private conversation, correct?
Yes.
He was, you two were engaged, just the two of you, correct?
Yes.
And no one else was within 10 feet of you, correct?
Not that I know of. No.
After that, there may have been times where other people talked to Nick between the time you spoke with him until he was arrested. Agreed?
Yes.
You don't know what Nick said in those other times, right?
No.
Because you weren't a party to those conversations.
No, and I don't hear very well, so I went to hurt him. I wear hearing aids, so I don't hear, and I didn't wear them on the river, obviously.
So all you know about is what Nick told you when the two of you were alone.
Yes.
That's what you remember regarding Nick's statements about what may or may not have happened.
Yes.
The phone calls on the jail, I want to ask you about that, okay?
Okay.
You still consider those private, agreed?
Yes.
There was you didn't know for sure whether somebody was or was not listening live, correct?
That I don't know. I just know they say it's recorded.
What they do with the recording, you don't know?
No.
Doesn't say, okay, that's all.
Anything else?
You'd purposely tell him to stop talking sometimes because you knew somebody might be listening to those calls, right?
Only if he started talking about what happened, I do.
Okay. No.
Mr. Nelson?
The reason you stopped that is you weren't worried about somebody else hearing, you just didn't want to hear about the case. Fair to say?
Both.
Nothing else.
Thank you, Ms. Miu. Please have a seat in the back. Do you have other witnesses?
On this issue?
Yes.
I have a 911 call where you can also hear Nicolae talking in the background.
Well, that's different. I mean, as far as this question of whether or not the statements to Ms. Miu were private.
No.
Mr. Nelson?
No, we assert privilege.
All right. The privilege has been asserted. It's a statutory privilege. As I mentioned, a spouse may prevent another spouse, the other spouse, from talking about private conversations that were made during the marriage. We're talking about two different conversations between spouses. One occurred on July 30, 2022, shortly after the incident. On this record, I'm convinced that it was a private conversation because it was engaged between two people standing apart as far as 10 feet away from others. I consider that to be a private conversation and will allow the privilege to be asserted for that communication. As far as the jail communication is concerned, that clearly is not private. Ms. Miu testified that she knew it was being recorded. If it's being recorded, somebody else has the ability to listen, and the conversations are taking place knowing that somebody else is recording and possibly could listen. So that conversation was not private, and the state may inquire about the substance of those conversations.
How does I don't know how the court wants me to handle that. I know it's very publicized that he's in custody. The jury probably knows, but I know we're trying to not make it obvious. He's in civilian clothes. So should I just not ask a time frame so they might think it's shortly after the arrest, or I don't know, or do I just say jail phone calls? Did you say this?
Well, what do you propose to say? Well, you frame the question for me, and let's find out whether or not there's an objection.
Can I weigh in before that?
Well, you want to give him a shot? Give him a chance to, unless you don't care.
Oh, I care.
Okay, let's hear what he proposes that he's going to say, and you tell me your thoughts after that.
I would just ask, while your husband, well, actually, I guess we got to address that too, but when Nicolae was in jail, did you have conversations with him? And did you talk about this? Did he say this? And we essentially leave it at that.
I would permit the state to lead, and I don't think that there would be any reason why they would need to go beyond between now and July 30th. Did you have conversations with your husband? Yes. Did your husband tell you X, Y, Z? If she says yes, she says no. If she says yes, we're done. If she says no, they play the recording. I mean, the fact that there's a recording, the fact that where it is irrelevant. The only issue is that there's a recording. Your Honor's already ruled on that. And if she doesn't agree with it, they can play the recording. I don't think we need to know why they have the recording.
Mr. Anderson?
That's fine. I'll just say
Use leading questions.
yes.
And if she deviates from the script, then you're going to be able to impeach her on things that may be more sensitive. All right, what else?
I don't think there's any, my request is that we don't say it's a jail recording. It's just the recording. It doesn't matter where it came from.
That's what I understood the agreement to be.
Okay.
Correct, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, I'll just say, did you have recorded phone calls with Nicolae?
No, did you have conversation?
Okay, sure.
And in that conversation was X, Y, and Z said. All right, let's circle back on the relevance of the divorce. How is it relevant?
Well, for one, defense said in their opening, she is his wife, present tense. So, I mean, I think they could have just,
I'm not his divorce lawyer.
well,
Okay, well,
also, I mean, it goes to bias or prejudice. And, we're asking all these witnesses, what are their relations with each other? Are they friends? Do they still talk to each other? So they're divorced. The finances are done. She doesn't have a financial stake in this trial because the divorce is finalized. So it goes to bias or prejudice.
Who's saying she's biased? I mean, we're not claiming she's biased. Is the state claiming that she's biased because she's divorced? I'm not tracking the rationale behind the relevancy.
If
Are
she,
they going to?
let's put it this way. The relationship of the witness to the defendant is relevant. What is their relationship? That's where the relevance lies. You said that if we get into the fact that they were divorced, it's going to open up a lot of other issues. And what are those issues?
Well, I think I get to ask her, you didn't divorce him because you don't love him anymore. You didn't divorce him because you disapprove of his behavior on 7/30th. This was a financial decision. And other than the, state of Minnesota's financial, you still care and support. I mean, I think I get to say all of those things if they get into that.
Okay, well, I think the relationship is relevant. I don't think there's any unfair prejudice if the jury knows that they're divorced. And it'll be subject to cross-examination if you want to explore these other topics to rehabilitate. So if you want to ask that question, that's what you're going to receive on the other end. I just want to point out one thing, though. At the beginning of the trial, when I was asked to make an exception for the sequestration rule, it was presented to me that they were married. And now I'm learning that they're divorced.
I didn't know that the divorce was final. I'm not his divorce attorney. I apologize if I was misleading. I don't believe she sat in the trial at all. So it was not my intent to. I did not know the status of their proceedings.
All right. Is there anything else that we need to address?
I don't think so.
Mr. Nelson?
No objection.
All right, let's bring the jury in. Hugh, why don't you have a seat in the back, and then we'll call you back up to the witness stand.
She.
She's not a victim.
Yeah. So as the normal court rules, someone who's going to be a witness is not allowed to hear other witnesses testify because there's a risk they could conform their own testimony to what they heard other witnesses say. So you don't want witnesses hearing each other. Obviously, that's complicated in the modern era because people can just, watch the stream just like we're watching the stream. In fact, I've been told that happens later in this proceeding with some of the witnesses. But normally witnesses are not supposed to be watching other witnesses testify. There are exceptions. One exception is, I believe, under Wisconsin's Marcy's law, people who qualify as crime victims are allowed to watch the proceedings, even though they'll be witnesses later. That's been true for a number of the people who were stabbed in this case were witnesses, but also allowed to watch the proceedings. Or a spouse, apparently under Wisconsin procedure, would be allowed to be an exception to the sequestration rule, meaning you're excluded from the courtroom when other witnesses are testifying. And the judge is like, well, you told me I accepted her. She was going to be allowed to watch other witnesses testify, but I did that on the basis of her being his wife, and she was already divorced. And the defense is claiming simply ignorance of when the divorce was final. And they do say apparently she was never in the courtroom anyway. So it's not a big deal. Experts can also often listen in court and hear other witnesses testify because it could inform their expert testimony. That's right. All right, let's see. So all of that was outside the hearing of the jury so that the parties could get a ruling from the judge on what they would be allowed to ask about, what the scope would be, and so forth. Again, judge very much in control of his courtroom. Great job, decisive, well-founded decisions. And it's a pleasure to see a well-run courtroom, as opposed to what we saw, for example, in the Zachariah Anderson courtroom under Judge Schroeder, with these meandering debates in court and lectures to the jury about law and legal doctrine and history. All right, so here we go with the witness, and the witness is still in the courtroom. I think she's just in the back of the room. So they'll put her back. They'll bring the jury in. They'll put the witness back in the stand. I'll probably just tell her she's still under oath, and things can proceed from there.
I guess.
Just so everyone's aware, we're going to re-administer the oaths so that the jury shows.
All rights for the jury.
All right, please be seated. Welcome back, members of the jury. We are ready to continue with the next witness. Who is that witness, Mr. Anderson?
Sandra Mue.
Ms. Mue, would you please come forward? Please face the clerk, raise your right hand, and she'll administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you will also give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please have a seat in the witness chair. Mr. Anderson.
Can you please state your first and last name?
Sandra Mue?
And Sandra, do you work?
No.
What city and state do you live in?
I live in Lakeville, Minnesota.
And
Sounds like it.
obviously you know Nicolae Miu.
Yes.
Where did you two meet?
At work.
And is that Ritchie Engineering?
Yes.
Were you tubing with Nicolae on July 30, 2022?
Yes.
Were you with a group of people?
I'm sorry, what?
Were you with a group of people?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm handing what's been marked as Exhibit 12. You can take it. Are those the people you were tubing with?
Yes.
Okay. Move to admit and publish.
Any objection to 12?
No objection. And Sandra, can you see that? Do you go by Sandy or Sandra?
Sandy.
Okay. Far left person, who's that?
It's Ariel.
And how do you know Ariel?
He's Ernesto's nephew, and Ernesto used to work with us.
Okay. How many times were you and Nick, or just Nick, close friends with Ariel, just met him?
We sort of were close friends with him. We'd go over to Amy and Ernesto's house and he would be there.
Okay. And how about the woman next to Ariel?
I don't know her very well. That's Ariel's girlfriend.
Okay. And then guy third from right?
I don't know him. That was the first time he had been there.
Okay. And then that's Nicolae next to fourth from right?
Yes.
Okay. Where are you in this photo?
I'm in the inner tube in the middle.
Okay. And then where's Ernesto?
Ernesto is in between Amy and Rosie.
Okay. Maybe I'll go back. Can you still see it?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay. And who's Rosie?
Rosie is Ernesto's sister.
And how do you know Ernesto and Rosie?
I know Ernesto because we worked with him. Rosie's been over at his house when we would go over there.
Okay. How long have you known Ernesto?
I don't even know, 10 some years, probably maybe a little bit more.
10 to 15?
Yeah, I'd go 10 to 15.
Okay. You and Nick, would you socialize with them a lot?
Yes, we'd go to their house.
Would they come to your house?
Yes,
Okay. So decent, close friends?
yes,
How about Amanda or Amy?
that's Ernesto's wife.
Okay. You knew her pretty well too?
Yes,
And then Tatiana, did you know her?
I only knew her a little bit. I met her a couple of times when we'd go over to Amy and Ernesto's house.
Okay.
And same with Peachy. I only met him when we'd go over there, and I only met him maybe 3 times.
Okay. And that's what you know him as, PG?
Hmm.
Yes?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
When you were tubing in the beginning, did Nicolae have a knife on him?
I don't know if he did when we were tubing.
In the beginning, at the start?
He only did to cut the strings on the tubes. He went back to the Jeep, and I thought he put it away.
Okay. And as you guys were tubing, so you didn't see him put it there, you just thought he put it in the Jeep when he went back to the Jeep?
Yes,
And is that what he brought it for, to cut the string?
yes,
So you could tie up at the beginning?
yes.
Okay.
Actually, Ernesto called Nick and asked him to bring it,
Okay.
so he could cut the string.
Did your group stop on the way? Did you stop anywhere on the way while tubing?
While we were tubing,
No, did you stop?
before we got there?
Yeah, did you stop somewhere to eat or
No.
hang out on a beach or anything like that?
No,
Do you remember telling law enforcement you stopped and you were eating for like 30 minutes or so and using the bathrooms?
that was why we were tubing.
What do you mean? Can you explain that?
We were tubing down the river, and there was a spot that is covered where they must have played a band or something there once in
Okay.
a while. It was on the river while we were tubing. We stopped to eat.
Gotcha. You thought I was asking about before tubing.
Yes,
Okay, sorry. And did Nicolae have snorkel goggles with him?
yes,
And was he snorkeling by a group of young guys at one point?
I don't know. He just took the snorkel and went out there.
Did you see him by a group of young guys at some point?
I did later
Okay.
when the incident started.
And was there actually a couple times that Nicolae went over to that group?
That I don't know for sure.
Did you tell law enforcement that he went over there twice?
I know I think he went to that group, he came back, and then I didn't know he went back to that group until later I saw him over there.
Okay. So he had gone to the group of the young guys, came back, and then at some point he went back there, but you didn't see him go back there again.
No, I didn't keep track of him.
Okay. How long was he back that you remember before you noticed he was gone again?
I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. I don't know for sure.
You remember saying maybe 10 minutes?
I may have.
And then when he went, Judge, can we approach?
Yes.
All right. The defense has an objection, but this judge doesn't allow speaking objections, and it's not something, apparently it's not something the defense feels would be obvious, or they would state the basis for the objection, like leading or whatever. It's maybe a waste of time objection. The state made a waste of time objection, which would work with this judge. He doesn't like time being wasted in his courtroom for sure. Yeah, the state specifically asked her, did you stop before? I mean, she asked for clarification and he did. I've not been impressed by the prosecution. Of course, I'm a little biased. Against prosecutors generally. No offense, prosecutors. I think they have the easier job, so they don't need to be as creative.
And at some point, did Ariel's phone get knocked in the water?
I don't know how it went in the water, but yes.
And do you remember, in relation to the 2 times Nicolae went over to the group of young guys, was it before the first time, after the first time? Do you remember?
Was what?
Was what, before or after?
When the phone got lost.
Oh, it was before.
Okay. And was Nicolae looking for the phone?
Yes.
What were you guys doing, the rest of the group, while Nicolae was looking for the phone?
I don't know what they were doing. I was busy sitting in the inner tube because I had a hard time getting out of it. And I was just looking at the sky and the trees and just relaxing and enjoying my day.
You guys, I mean, your group was kind of by a sandbar, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when Nicolae was back at the group of young guys the second time, did something catch your attention?
I happened to, every once in a while, I'd sit up in my tube just to see where Nick was at. And the one time I did that, it looked like there was people around him, and all of a sudden I saw him on his hands and knees in the water, and somebody was hitting him.
Didn't you originally say that the first thing you noticed was all the young guys jumping out of their tubes?
I may have.
And it's that point that you alerted your group and sent some people over there? Or asked some people to go over there?
Yeah, I had asked 2 of them,
And who were those 2 people?
Ariel and Ernesto.
Okay. And again, Ariel in the group photos on the far left,
Yes, he's got the red, white, and blue.
and Ernesto is the only one without a shirt off in that photo?
Yeah, he's on the other side. It's like second from where I'm at on that side.
Okay. And so you saw, just to clarify, this is the second time Nicolae's at the group that you see them jump up. Yeah, okay. And do Ernesto, after you see the boys jump up and you alert the group, do Ernesto and Ariel start walking over there?
Yeah, Ariel went first and then Ernesto went.
And then I think you said the next thing you remember was he was on his hands and knees in the water and somebody hit him.
Yep,
And then did you see anything after that?
I did not.
And how, at some point after, what do you remember happening after that?
They just brought him back. And I
And
saw the police come and people were screaming, and kid was by a tree, I guess. And later, because we stayed there for about 20 minutes.
I'm going to get to that in a second, but I just want to back up a little bit. So you said they brought him back. Did Nicolae come back before or after or with Ernesto and Ariel, if you remember?
With them, I think.
Did you actually see Nicolae walking back from the group, or was he just there, like next thing you noticed?
I saw him coming. I didn't see him leave that group. I saw him though walking back.
And were you watching him the whole time he was walking back?
Not at the beginning when he left the group. I didn't see that.
And did you watch him? So I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
Last sheet of paper.
Yes.
One of the bailiffs, I think there's another pack just outside this door leaning up against the wall. let's take that one down. We need to mark it in any event.
So if this is the river,
Mhm.
let's say this is the sandbar, okay, you with me?
Mhm.
Okay? Where you guys are somewhere around here?
Yeah, right next to it.
Okay, in the water?
Yes.
Okay, like right here?
Yep.
Okay. And then do you remember where the young boys were, or young kids, or adults?
Yeah, they were on that side.
The other side of the river?
Yes, they weren't on the same side we were on.
And were they downstream a ways?
Yes.
Okay, so, right, I mean, there's no scale, so.
Yeah.
I'll just draw them generally here. So at some point, Nicolae walked back.
Mhm.
And you said you didn't see him when he left at first. Do you know, like, if you know, I don't want you to guess, if when he was halfway, did you start to watch him come back when he was almost back to your group?
Probably a little less or a little more than halfway.
Okay, so maybe like around here,
No, the other way.
lower. Oh, this down
Yeah.
here.
Probably saw him about in there.
And did he walk straight back to your group from there?
Yes.
And you watched him walk back?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember? You met with essentially the people sitting at this table prior to testifying, is that right?
Yes.
And do you remember saying in that meeting that you weren't watching him when he walked back the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. So you know which one it is?
Yes, I probably didn't watch him the whole time.
Okay. And after Nicolae was back by you, your group, what did you see? What did you hear? Not amongst your group, but downriver.
There was a lot of commotion down there. I saw the police arrive. I saw someone, I didn't really see the person laying by the tree, but I saw somebody give that person CPR.
And let me ask a question about that. So the person who was getting CPR, was that on the other side of the river from you?
Yes, it was by where the other people's troops were.
So somewhere down here.
Yeah.
And did you see that CPR going on? You said you were there about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think it was about 20 minutes. I don't know for sure, but it seemed like 20 minutes.
Was somebody getting CPR on the shore that whole time?
Pretty much.
Okay. About 20 minutes. Did you see? And the commotion, can you describe the commotion?
People were more frantic, it seemed. They were just going to people that needed help.
And what do you mean needed help? Did you see people who were injured?
No, just, like I said, I didn't see the one by the tree either. I'm just assuming, but no.
So what did you see to know they were doing CPR?
I saw somebody pushing up and down on the person's chest.
Okay. Did you see blood?
I did not.
And so you said you saw law enforcement arrive.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And do you remember seeing a couple of officers in the water?
Yes.
Is that what you remember as far as law enforcement that you saw before you guys left?
Yes, there may have been an ambulance, but I'm not sure.
Do you remember telling us in the meeting that you saw a police SUV, a couple officers in the water, and no ambulance?
Yes, I do remember that.
Okay. So did anyone from your group, once Ariel, Ernesto, and Nicolae are back with you, did anyone walk over to where the commotion was going on?
I heard somebody did. I didn't see them.
prior to the incident, I'll call it, what was the atmosphere like among your group? Were you guys drinking, listening to music?
We were listening to music until the phone got lost because that was the one that was playing the music on.
Okay.
Some of them were drinking.
Was Nicolae drinking?
He had about 2 beers.
About just an estimate?
Yeah.
You were the designated sober driver home, right?
Yeah, I was just drinking water.
And that was pre-planned that you would be the one to drive home?
No, it was not pre-planned.
And then after the incident, what was the mood like when you're tubing down the river?
Quiet.
And I'm not asking what was said, but while you're tubing down the river, was Nicolae talking?
I think he was talking to Amy, but I'm not positive.
Okay.
I didn't look to see.
So fair to say when you guys tubed down, the person was still getting CPR?
I don't remember.
Was the scene still chaotic?
I don't think it was back then. No.
No, but it was before ambulances arrived, right?
I don't know for sure.
Well, you said you saw a police SUV, 2 officers in the water, no ambulances, right?
I don't know for sure. I didn't pay attention, but I told you before there was no ambulance, so I guess not.
Okay. You'd agree that when you told us that, we just asked you to tell us what you remember, right?
Yes.
You weren't
And
crying or,
no, but I've been trying to block this out. So
okay.
since I talked to you, I don't remember. I'm not going to sit here and read the transcripts you gave me. I don't remember.
Okay. I imagine, and I want to be respectful, I imagine this is extremely difficult
Yes.
for you. So when your group left, you had to tube by the spot where the incident happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Since this incident, you've had conversations with Nicolae briefly about some parts of the incident, agreed?
Yes.
And Nicolae has expressed to you frustration with you and your group because you didn't hear him yelling for help, right?
Right.
And he cast some blame on you and your group for not coming in response to his yells for help.
Yes.
And you responded, you couldn't hear any yells for help.
No, couldn't hear it. Not over the water.
Nick's knife, you described it as, you believed it was a silver blade, black handle folding knife. Do you remember that?
I don't remember. It could have been.
And you described that it had a clip on the knife, right?
Yes.
And he'd clip it into his lower pocket on his shorts.
Yes.
And Nicolae's right-handed, right?
He's right-handed.
Do you remember telling law enforcement that you heard screaming?
I don't remember. I may have. I just don't remember.
You, would it refresh your memory to see a transcript?
Yes. Okay.
Does that refresh your memory?
No, but it says it, so I must have said it.
Okay. When you saw CPR being done on the shore, was the rest of your group looking in the same direction, watching what was going on?
I'm assuming so.
No foundation.
Sustained.
You're there for 20 minutes?
About, I guess.
Sorry, just wait till
Sorry.
you address the objections, that's fine. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the objection.
I objected, asked and answered.
I hadn't finished.
Ask the question, let's start over.
So you were there for, you estimate, about 20 minutes with the other people from your group. As you were there, did you make observations about the people in your group?
No.
No, you didn't see anything that anyone was doing or looking at?
No.
Where were you? Okay. And what about Nicolae? Did you see where he was looking?
No.
Did you see what he was doing?
No.
So Nicolae walks down to the, I'm talking about the second time now, the group of young guys. You see him get hit. When he's down on his hands and knees, he eventually comes back, and you're not paying any attention to what Nicolae's doing.
Objection leading.
Sustained.
May we approach?
Yes.
So the state's not getting what they want out of her. Mostly it seems because they're just not good at framing their own questions. But they're kind of flailing around with this witness. I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to get to, but they're clearly not getting there. And she comes across as quite credible. So I expect what the state's going to ask for now is that they be permitted to treat her as a hostile witness, meaning they'd be permitted now to ask leading questions as if we're on cross. I doubt the judge would grant that. She's not being hostile.
So during that 20 minutes, were you watching, after everything you've testified about, during the 20 minutes you're there, were you paying any attention to Nicolae?
I don't recall. I must have at some point. I just don't recall.
Did Nicolae have any injuries that you saw?
I didn't notice any, but I didn't pay attention either.
And the people that Nicolae was downstream, were they bigger, smaller, same size as Nicolae?
I noticed some of them were skinnier, some of them were bigger. They were all younger.
Do you remember telling law enforcement that they're all smaller than Nicolae? Nicolae's a big guy.
No, I don't remember saying that, but if I did,
You remember saying it didn't look like Nicolae got hit that hard?
I don't remember.
Not remembering is not being credible, folks.
When Nicolae came back after you saw him get hit, did you go to him, render any aid, anything like that?
Did I what?
Go to him and render any aid or anything like that?
I just made sure it didn't have any, I didn't see any blood or anything, so I'm assuming he was not too badly hurt.
Okay. Nothing else, Judge.
Mr. Nelson?
Ms. Mue, can you tell us when you and
So worth keeping in mind, this is the state's witness. I mean, it's the defendant's wife, but the state called this witness. To what purpose? I mean, what did they get out of her?
Nick got married?
When?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was June 4th, 2011,
Why'd you marry him?
because I loved him.
Still true today?
Yes, it is.
Over the course since, did you know him before 2011?
Yes, I met him. We started dating in 2008, and I met him at work a little before that, so
What did he do there at your place of employment?
he was an engineer.
What type of engineer?
I think he said it was a mechanical engineer.
What did you do at the place of employment?
I was a supervisor of a department.
Of what department?
I was a supervisor of the packaging department.
And it was through that you and Nick grew to meet each other and then know each other, right?
Yes,
It sounds like there's a group of other people that you guys got to know and hang out with from work, right?
yes,
So you've known Nick since 2008?
I knew him a little before that, maybe 2007.
And during that time, you eventually married him and lived with him, right?
Yes,
You worked with him often?
I did.
You interacted with him at work and at home?
Yes,
Imagine you really knew this man.
yes,
Would you agree that you know his character as to whether he's peaceful or violent?
Yes.
So the state's objection is going to be, well, character evidence is generally excluded. We haven't opened the door to whether he's peaceful or violent. And if I were the defense, I'd argue, well, you charged him with murder. You charged him with unlawful killing and unlawfully stabbing 4 other people. Isn't the claim of being non-peaceful and violent implicit to the criminal charge you brought against him?
So my question was,
Oh,
do you have an
overruled.
opinion as his character for peacefulness?
Nick is a very peaceful person.
I want to ask you some other questions about what you know about Nick, okay?
All right.
Was there a time when
Oh, this is just going boomeranging on the state. And more bench, more white noise. More white noise. Let's see. It is nice when they stop that buzzing sound. After this witness is done, there we go. I'll take a look at the chat and comments stuff. All right. Well, this cross sounds like it's going to be very bad for the state. She divorced her husband. You'd expect animosity there, right? He was often very threatening to me. Nope. You married him. Why? I loved him. Still true. Yes. Opinion as a character for peacefulness. He's a very peaceful person. Not the kind of testimony one might expect from a divorced spouse, except apparently they divorced for, we'll see if this comes out in testimony, for financial reasons.
Entry and admission of those photos.
What are the numbers?
I'll go through them. I just wanted to publish and ask you when they're on. I don't know.
That's fine. We'll turn on the document examiner.
Yes, thank you. Rich. So I'm going to show you some photos and ask you some questions about those, okay?
Yes,
This is exhibit number 106. You see that?
yes.
What's that a picture of?
It's a picture of Nick and I.
When is that from? Do you know?
I don't remember the exact date. Probably about 2009, 2010.
Okay. And you might not know, but roughly where you at?
I don't remember. We went to some park and for the day and just decided to take some pictures of us while we were there.
Did you and Nick often enjoy outdoor activities?
We tried to when we could.
Sure. And so is this unusual in any way for you guys to be out someplace in the outdoors enjoying yourselves?
No, it's not.
Showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 107. You see that sticker? Who's that?
It's Nick and I and our little boy, Tiki,
Okay. Who's Tiki?
our dog.
All right. Showing you then picture 108. There's 3 different pictures there. Do you see those?
Yes,
Is that Nick in all of those?
yes,
Is that Nick on the left-hand side and the right-hand side? Are those pictures of Nick working on some property you guys owned in South Dakota?
yes.
Nick, a bit of a handyman.
Oh, yes,
Does he fix stuff around the house?
yes,
Fix stuff around the yard?
yes,
Is he good with tools?
yes, he is.
Do his friends sometimes call him if they've got some sort of problem that they want fixed? He's
Yes,
the guy to go to?
yes,
And does he solve it often with tools?
yes.
Have you seen him carry a pocket knife before?
All the time.
You see him, in this case, I think we've called it a utility knife or a pocket knife, but it's a small knife that he puts in his pocket, right?
Yep.
Have you seen him use that before?
Yes,
Have you seen him solve problems around the house with that?
yes,
Solve problems around the outside property with that?
yes,
Have you seen other people ask him about, hey, Nick, can you do this? And he'll use the pocket knife to fix something or solve something.
yes,
Showing you what's marked as exhibit 109. See those 3 photos there?
yes,
Is that Nick?
yes, it is.
Is that Nick in the hospital on the 2 ones on the left?
Yes,
Why was Nick in the hospital?
he had a quadruple bypass done.
And when was that?
I think it was 2020.
Okay. And you see in the one on the left and in the one on the right, he has some sort of red pillow that's on his chest. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What was the purpose of the red pillow?
So when he would sit up, he could hold that pillow against his chest to help prevent the pain.
Okay. How long was he in recovery as a result of that? Do you know?
I don't remember. I know he wasn't in the hospital long because they try and get you out right away. I don't remember if he was home 3 to 4 weeks afterwards.
Now, you knew him well before 2020, correct?
Yes,
And then you knew him till today, sometime after the surgery, correct?
yes,
Fair to say that since the surgery, he's had some more limitations
yes,
on his physical ability, correct?
yes,
He wasn't quite as fit as he was before. Would you agree?
yes,
And maybe this happens to all of us men when we get into our 50s, but appear to you that he lost some of his confidence in his fitness,
yes,
lost some of his ability to think he could go off and do anything and that he's invincible.
yes,
This certainly humbled him to that degree.
yes.
And did he limit himself to some degree?
He did to some degree, yes.
Did he at some point tell you, like, I just can't do this anymore, or make complaints about his own fitness?
No, Nick never did that.
He wasn't a complainer?
Not too much, no. And he tried, if he could do it one way or the other, he usually did it.
Okay, all right, problem solver.
Yes,
All right. Was he on any sort of like exercise regime that you saw him do, or is he just somebody that stayed like active working around the house?
it was just active working around the house.
He's not like a jogger, a biker,
No,
a lifter, or anything along those lines?
no,
There were some questions about alcohol use. Before I get into that day, just in general, Nick a big drinker?
no, not real big drinker. Occasionally he will, but not very often. He'll have a couple beers after work.
Okay. On this day, were you concerned about his alcohol consumption on July 30th of 2022?
Oh, no, no.
Was he in any way, did you seen him impaired on other days?
Oh, I've seen him, yes.
On that day, was he in any way impaired?
No,
Were you worried about his intoxication level in any way, shape, or form?
no,
And in your group,
Was there anybody in your group that was just like slamming drinks?
No, they had beers, but everybody shared them. And I don't know how many they had, but there was nobody that was intoxicated in our group like that, no.
Okay. Showing you what's been, I think we talked before about that other exhibit. Now here's exhibit 110. You see that photo?
Yes,
And, is that Nick on the left?
yes, it is.
Okay, and I'm gonna, Nick there, is that what he wore on the way to tubing?
Yes,
His shorts, they're camouflage shorts. Does he have a lot of clothing in which is, camouflaged?
yes,
Okay, that's just kind of his, I don't want to say signature, but he's got camo clothes.
yes, he does, lots of them.
Okay, and is it unusual for him when he's doing outdoor activities to wear some of those clothes that are made for outdoor activities?
No, it's not unusual.
Is it unusual for you to see him out and about in a camo shirt?
No.
And so that's what he wore there that day?
Yes,
We see in that picture there that he has a ball cap on, is that right?
yes,
And I think there's some other, the original picture here. Exhibit 12, he doesn't have the ball cap on, is that right?
he does not there.
Were there times when you guys were on the river that day that you saw him with the hat on and with the hat off?
I didn't pay attention.
Okay, other than what's documented in the photos, though, that you don't have any particular memory?
No,
Was it unusual, would it be unusual for you to see him with a hat on?
no, that's not unusual.
He wears a hat pretty regularly?
Yes,
And then I think in both of these photos, he's wearing sunglasses, is that right?
yeah,
Do you remember him wearing sunglasses on that day?
yes, I knew he brought him with.
Again, fair to say that it was sunny out that day?
Yes,
Anything that you thought was unusual about your husband wearing sunglasses on a sunny day outside?
no,
Were there times that you saw him take the sunglasses off?
I didn't pay attention.
He brought some snorkel and goggles though, right?
Yes,
And there was certainly a time when he would, before this incident that we're going to eventually talk about, there were times that you saw him in the water using the snorkel and goggle, correct?
no,
You didn't see that?
no,
So has anyone ever showed you the photos or the video of him kind of just resting in the water with the snorkel and the goggles?
no.
Is that something that you've seen him do in the past?
Well, he goes in the water, but he usually doesn't bring the snorkeling and goggles with. He
Okay.
did this time only because I had mentioned that not to wear any jewelry because the water's cold, because he wanted to know why. And I said, because your jewelry falls off, your rings will fall off your hands because the water's cold.
Okay.
So he thought he'd bring it with and look for jewelry in the water.
Okay.
That's why he brought it.
Okay. And that's something that you guys discussed prior to that?
Yes,
You'd also mentioned prior to, in addition to the snorkel and goggles, you said, I think on direct, Ernesto called and asked him to bring the pocket knife. Do you remember
Yes.
saying that?
yes,
Were you there present when you saw Nick answer the phone?
yes.
And did you know who Nick was speaking to?
He told me who he was talking to.
And it was Ernesto?
Yes,
Not yet.
And at some point after that phone call, did you see Nick go and do something?
I saw him leave the room.
Okay. And then when he came back, did he have the pocket knife that he often has?
I don't know. He told me Ernesto wanted him to bring the
Wait,
knife.
I'm sorry. This is Ernesto talking? It's a statement.
Did you eventually see Nick at the Somerset tubing parking lot using the knife to cut some strings?
Yes,
Were you surprised that he had his pocket knife with him to cut the strings?
no,
At other times during the day, did you see him using the knife to fix his shoes at all?
no, I did not.
So I want to ask you some questions now, focusing on really about July 30th, okay? At some point, there was a time when somebody in your party lost the phone, correct?
Yes,
And that was Ariel, correct?
yes,
And there was a discussion about what you guys were going to do, correct?
yes,
And eventually, Nick went off looking for the phone, correct?
yes,
And when you saw him leave looking for the phone, you saw him with the snorkel and the goggles, correct?
yes,
And at that point, when he left, he didn't have his hat on or his sunglasses on. Agreed?
right.
And his shirt, had he been taking his shirt on and off that day?
He may have.
Do you remember when he walked away that time, did he have his shirt on or his shirt off?
I think it was off because he was going in the water.
Okay. Did you find it unusual when Nick decided to go help a friend and go look for a phone?
No,
Is that just kind of what Nick does?
Yes,
Is, when he did that, did you think you needed to keep an eye on him?
no,
Were you worried about him, like
No.
his behavior?
no,
Throughout that day, had you seen him cause any conflicts that day?
no,
Engage with anybody in a way that made you like want to control your husband's behavior?
no,
Were you worried about that in any way?
no,
You were just basically like, look for the phone. I'm going to sit here and relax in the tube.
exactly.
And that's what you did.
That's what I did.
At some point, he came back and then he left again, correct?
Yes,
Do you know exactly what he was doing each time that he was gone from your group?
no,
You weren't keeping an eye out for him?
no. I would sit up in the tube once in a while just to see where he was.
Okay. And so this first time you saw him down in the same area that you eventually saw him the second time. Is that fair to say?
Yes,
But you couldn't hear what was going on.
no,
You didn't see any conflict, right?
no,
You just basically saw Nick in the middle walking around or occasionally putting his face in the water looking for the phone.
yes,
That's what you saw?
yes,
No conflict at all.
no,
Agreed?
yes,
And then at some point you said he comes back and then he leaves. Is that right?
yes,
And some point during the second trip is when you notice, when you sit up in the tube, at some point you notice that there's something going on down there, correct?
yes,
And it causes you concern.
yes,
Causes you concern for the safety of your husband
yes.
because you heard stuff, right? You heard like commotion noises.
I don't know if I heard anything,
Okay.
but when I sat up in the tube, I saw stuff.
And when you saw them, did you see him surrounded by other people?
Trying to think if I saw that. I don't remember if I saw him surrounded by people.
Did you see him raise his left hand and make a motion towards you or other people in the group?
No, I did not see that.
Okay. Had you seen that, would you have responded?
Oh, yes,
Is your husband somebody that takes calling for help lightly?
no,
You ever seen him in a situation before where he calls for help?
no,
This is the first time?
yes,
Have you ever seen a situation before where you felt like he needed help?
no,
So what you saw, that must have been pretty scary.
yes.
What exactly did you see that raised your level of fear so much that you said these other guys, they got to go down there?
I don't remember if I saw anything before, but I remember seeing him in the water on his hands and knees and getting hit.
Okay. Did he look to be in a safe space?
No,
And that's why you sent your friends down there for him?
yes,
And you were worried about him?
yes.
The prosecutor asked questions about what his injuries were. Why didn't you just wait to see if they like drowned him?
Objection, Judge.
Why'd you send the help when you did?
Because I wanted my husband back safe.
Why didn't you wait until you wanted it to get more serious?
Why? You don't do that. I wanted him safe. I wanted him back.
You wanted to get him in a safe spot before it got so bad that it couldn't be fixed.
Yes,
And you were worried that it might get so bad that it couldn't be fixed.
exactly.
That's all.
Mr. Anderson? Yes.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, that was a helpful witness. So when I say this witness is credible, I mean, she passes up on opportunities where she could just fabricate a response that's helpful to her husband and the defense. They ask her, did you see him raise his hand to gesture towards her group? We see that on the video. She could just say yes. But she said, I didn't see that. That's what makes her credible. In my experience, generally speaking, prosecutors tend not to be as skilled as defense because prosecutors generally have a pretty easy job. Most defendants in criminal trials are criminals. They're not that hard to convict. A lot of crimes we have today are pretty easy convictions. They're possession crimes, right? They're drugs or they're naughty pictures or whatever, contraband type of stuff. Felon in possession of a gun. Those are walk-away convictions.
All right, let's continue. Mr. Anderson?
Sandy, you testified on direct, the thing that you saw that caused you to send people over was the young guys jumping up, getting up out of their tubes, right?
Yeah,
Okay. And then that's when Ariel and Ernesto walked over.
I don't remember, I guess. I don't. I thought it was when he was in the water getting hit, but it may have been before that.
Do you remember what you said to law enforcement? if it was when the kids or the young guys, however you want to describe them, got out of their tubes?
I don't remember.
And also on direct, you testified you never heard Nicolae yell for help, right?
No, I did not.
And would you be smiling and going like this?
No,
No what?
no, I didn't see that.
Okay. So you didn't see anything, you didn't see a visual call for help, you didn't hear a call for help?
No, like I said, I wear hearing aids. I can't wear them in the water, and the water's loud. I wouldn't have heard him.
Okay. When was Nicolae's surgery?
I want to say it was August of 2020.
So about 2 years before July of 2022.
Yes,
And you said the recovery was about 4 to 5 weeks?
3 to 4.
3 to 4, okay. And then after that, you said it didn't really slow Nicolae down. He still did what he did before?
Well, it slowed him down some because sometimes it took him a little bit longer. He always got everything done, but he just couldn't do it as fast as what he did before because he didn't have the strength.
Okay. Still did yard work, chores around the house, that kind of stuff?
Right.
Wasn't feeble?
Hmm?
Wasn't feeble?
No.
Could still run?
Yeah, he just had the pain.
Okay.
I guess the state's trying to sell that a guy who had quadruple bypass surgery was not at all physically impaired afterwards. Certainly more capable than the children.
Nelson?
Yes, sorry, Judge, I was trying to, thank you.
Recross.
What I understand you saying is you didn't hear him call for help, correct?
Right,
And you didn't see him call for help, correct?
right.
But you would agree, had you seen him make a gesture with his left hand waving you, you would have considered that a call?
Objection and speculation, hypothetical.
She's already answered the question.
I wasn't done asking, I guess, when you, I'm not
Good point. Finish asking the question, but I think we've already gone through this.
just following up on his redirect, so
I know, but I think we've already gone through this, so I don't want to waste time.
try to be really quick. You would agree, had you seen him raise his left hand in a motion like this, you would have considered that from your husband, who you've known for that long, a call for help?
Yes.
Asked and answered, already. Speculation.
Sustained, and she's already answered the question again. Next topic.
You were asked some questions about when you actually raised a concern, so much though that you sent 2 men over there to help your husband. Remember that?
Yes.
And what I believe you first said on the first time was when you saw him getting hit, you sent the 2 people over, correct?
Yes.
But we came to learn that you may have been concerned even before that and sent people over to help him even before that.
I may have. Yes.
You were worried. You didn't wait until he got hit. You were worried about it even before that, correct?
Yes.
You just saw a situation in which he looked like he was outnumbered by a bunch of young men, correct?
Yes.
And that concerned you.
Yes.
And that's why you sent some other people over there, correct?
Yes.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mue. You may step down.
Judge, if I didn't already, the exhibits that I showed, I just moved for their admission. I believe I did before, but
For those photographs admitted.
111 was not included in that, so I'll have to do that later. I just want to make sure the clerk knows.
Ms. Mue, please see the witness coordinator in the back, and she'll tell you where to go next. Are you going? Want to keep going? Or get a break? Keep going? Okay. You're going to keep going unless someone needs to use a restroom? Okay, everyone's good? Who's the next witness?
Marion Davis.
All right, let's take a look. Let's catch up on some of these questions in chat. Now, as always, Law Self-Defense members watching this on the member live stream and in the member chat get their questions answered for free. If you want questions and comments posted on YouTube to be addressed by me, they need to be a minimum $10 super chat, which I discourage you from doing. Don't give $10 to YouTube. I mean, they take a big chunk of that. For less than that, you could be a Law Self-Defense member for an entire month. It's less than $10 a month to be a Law Self-Defense member. Get all your questions and comments answered for free. Indeed, you could become a trial member for just 99 cents for 2 weeks, which will certainly cover this trial, at lawofselfdefense.com/trial for that trial membership. 99 cents, unlimited member access to all our members only content and features, including the ability to pose questions and comments I'll address for free. 99 cents, folks, at lawofselfdefense.com/trial. And if you stay a member after the 2 weeks, it's still dirt cheap. It's only about 30 cents a day, less than $10 a month to be a Law of Self-Defense member. All right, let's see what we got so far. We're still on the prosecution case in chief. This last witness was Sandra Mue, Sandy Mue, former wife of the defendant. It seems she still loves him. They divorced apparently for financial reasons, not out of any animosity. Wisconsin is a soft stand your ground state, meaning there is no legal duty to retreat. It is a stand your ground state. But in a soft stand your ground state, the prosecution is not allowed to argue there was a legal duty to retreat because there isn't one before you can act in self-defense. But the prosecution is allowed to argue that there's no legal duty, but safe retreat was possible. A reasonable person would have done that. Therefore, your use of force was unreasonable, and reasonableness is, of course, its own independent element of self-defense. Any of these 5 elements, innocence, imminence, proportionality, avoidance, and reasonableness, if the state can disprove any single one of those required elements of self-defense, there is self-defense collapses completely. The only exception which may be relevant here is if the only defect in your claim of self-defense is that element of reasonableness, that you believed you needed to act in self-defense, but that belief was objectively unreasonable, however genuine, you could qualify only for imperfect self-defense. Perfect self-defense leads to an acquittal. What you did, your use of force, was simply not a crime. It was legally justified. Imperfect self-defense, where you had a genuine good faith belief in the need to act in self-defense, but that belief was objectively unreasonable, cannot lead to an acquittal. It's not a justification defense. What it can do is it can mitigate what would have been a murder conviction to a manslaughter conviction. Oh man, this cough is brutal. Makes it hard to talk. 1 second, folks. So manslaughter conviction's no fun. Can be 10 to 20 years. But you might be eligible for parole in a third of that time, get out in 5, 6 years. 5, 6, 7 years is a pretty typical sentence served for an intentional killing in the U.S. Murder in the first degree is likely life in prison without possibility of early release. So that's forever sentence. So manslaughter conviction sucks unless the alternative would be murder. Law self-defense member Zachary says, Wisconsin has a specific statute that disqualifies otherwise lawful self-defense if you are the aggressor. It was a big part of the Rittenhouse case. Determining who is the initial aggressor in the conflict seems to be a big part of what the prosecution is arguing. Well, Wisconsin, I mean, it doesn't have a specific statute on aggressor. It's just part of the Wisconsin self-defense statute, I believe. Let me take a quick look. No, it's just part of the self-defense statute. It is a distinct jury instruction. The jury instructions often kind of fragment up statutory language to make it more concise for jurors. But the general notion is that if you're the initial physical aggressor in a confrontation, you lose the element of innocence, you lose the privilege of self-defense, but you can recover your element of innocence. You can recover self-defense even if you were the aggressor. There's a couple ways to do that. One is if you withdraw from the confrontation and communicate your withdrawal from the confrontation. So basically you started the fight, but then you back off. You say, hey, I don't want to fight anymore. Now, you don't actually have to verbalize that. Generally speaking, the communication of the desire to stop fighting is constructive, meaning your physical conduct illustrates that, communicates that effectively, such as simply walking away from the fight. Turn your back, walk away from the fight. Now, for the fight to happen, that other person has to follow you, has to come to you, and they've started a second fight in which they're the initial aggressor in that second fight, and you've regained the legal defense of self-defense. So you can be the initial aggressor. It doesn't mean you've lost self-defense forever. If you walk away and stop fighting and they continue the fight, you've regained self-defense for that second fight. Another way to regain self-defense, regain the element of innocence, if you were the initial aggressor, but your use of force was merely non-deadly in nature, and a typical shove or punch is going to be deemed non-deadly in nature, and the other side escalates to deadly force. Well, that's not legally permitted. If you're the initial non-deadly force aggressor, they're allowed to respond with non-deadly defensive force. But if they escalate to deadly force, they've again started a new fight, a fight in which they are the deadly force aggressor. And you've regained your privilege to use deadly force in self-defense. All of those scenarios are supported by the facts in this case. So even if you believe that unprovoked, this defendant punched the blonde girl, that doesn't mean he doesn't qualify for self-defense if one of these other paths is available to him. And certainly the escalation by the other side to deadly force, apparent drowning, continued beating after he was no longer a threat to anybody, is on the table. Okay, what else? I lost my little, here we go. The state seems to me wanting to characterize that, like when the defendant runs towards the tubes initially, the boys are in the tubes, the defendant goes to his knees, and his arms go on the tubes near someone's legs or touches someone's legs, that was some kind of initial battery. But the defendant walks away after that. So even if it was a simple battery, he walks away. He's regained innocence after that. I mean, you can charge him with the simple battery for touching of the leg. Did the state do that? No. So obviously, even they don't really believe it was a simple battery. They charged him with battery for the purported punch of the blonde girl. Why not the touching of the boy's legs if they think that was a battery too? I actually don't know a male of my acquaintance who doesn't carry a knife anywhere, everywhere. I mean, I've carried a knife since high school. I'm old enough when I was in high school. You could just carry a buck knife in your back pocket. No one's thought anything about it. Certainly didn't need to hide it. Let's see. Let's see. Everybody in the law of self-defense community appears to carry a knife. Philip asks, does a prosecutor ever red team before deciding to prosecute a case like this? I mean, any lawyer should be able to do that mentally. I mean, if you're, good, you need to, that's why lawyers ought to be skilled at critical thinking. They need to be able to make their own arguments and also see how to attack those arguments. It can be helpful to actually set up like a test panel of opponents, pretend defense attorneys. The trouble is, where are you going to find them? You could just pick, some other prosecutors in the office who aren't involved in your case, but prosecutors and defense attorneys don't tend to think the same way. And prosecutors generally don't have to be as critical thinking experts as the defense because they generally have easy convictions. I mean, there's a reason prosecutors get 95% conviction rates at trial. It's because they pick the easy cases to take to trial. Kyle says the defendant, when he came towards the tubes, likely tripped. 6 inches of moving water exerts an incredible amount of force. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable hypothesis. I guess we won't know unless he testifies. Let's see. Element says Pareto rule probably exists in lawyers too. Only 20% of lawyers are good at what they do. Yeah, that's probably about right. I mean, top tier, less than 10%. Rocks in water too, easy to stub toe. Yep. I mean, any of us who've ever walked in a river know this. Indeed, one of the second group of people, the father, the Carlson, I think his name was Quentin Carlson, the guy who owns the bar, sent his sons over, one of whom got stabbed. He didn't walk over himself because it's difficult to walk across the river for a big, fat, heavy guy, which he was, just like this defendant was. All right, let's see if there's any super chats I need to address. and then we'll get to the next witness. Supers. There is one. It's from yesterday, but I didn't catch it yesterday. It's only $5, but it's a compliment, so I'll read it anyway. From Darren, $5. Thank you, Darren. He says, enjoy your commentary. Have followed since Rittenhouse. Cheers. Oh, thank you very much. Very kind of you. And the last thing I'll do, of course, is mention again that today's show is sponsored by our upcoming Law of Self-Defense course on Saturday, April 20th. It's our full-day course teaching you how to be hard to convict if you're ever compelled to use force in defense of yourself, your family, your property. I assure you that if Nicolae Miu had taken this course before he went floating down that river, July 30th, 2022, and adhered to what we taught, he would never even have been criminally charged. Unfortunately, it's too late for him. Don't let it be too late for you. You don't get to choose the time, place, and manner of attack. You don't know when you'll have to defend yourself. That's up to the bad guy. You need this insight, information, expertise on board before that attack happens. Do it now, Saturday, April 20th. And we're still in the early registration period. You can get 50% off at lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. And if you have a conflict for that Saturday, sign up anyway, because we'll make the playback of the course available to you for at least 2 weeks after. This is a live course, live streamed from me to your computer on Saturday, April 20th, but we'll take the recording, make it available for 2 weeks afterwards so you can watch it at your leisure during that period. But that's only for registered students. Check it out. Sign up now, lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. And now we're back to the next witness.
Judge, I guess I should know for the record that Mr. Davis has requested that he also not be recorded. I know how the court feels about it, but I'm making the request. Is he a victim? No, he's a witness. Statute allows an exception for victims. Please come forward. Come. Please face the clerk, raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please have a seat in the witness chair.
I see he got dressed up for court.
Mr. Smestad. Can we state your name for the record, please?
Marion Davis,
Mr. Davis, how old are you?
24,
What city do you live in?
Minneapolis.
Were you tubing on the Apple River near Somerset, Wisconsin on July 30th of 2022?
Yes.
Were you with a group of your friends?
Yes.
How many folks, if you remember?
It was 4 of us in total.
Were you drinking some alcohol that day?
Yeah.
How do you think you were impaired?
No.
At some point, did your group have contact with a group of teenagers having a confrontation with an older male?
Yes.
Do you remember what time that was?
I don't remember the specific time, but it was during the day while we was on the river.
All right. And your group of folks, do you remember how many tubes you had?
We had like 4 strung together.
All right. I'm going to show you. We have a video from parts of the river. I'm going to show you a still frame from that video. It's number 2670.
It's gonna pop up right here.
It will in a second, once they are ready. Mr. Davis, if you can look at the monitor on the jury box there, showing you still 2670 from our video. Do you see yourself in that still frame?
Yeah, right there with my hand up.
All right, is that you standing up?
Yeah.
Blue shorts?
Yeah.
Is that your group?
Yes.
In the foreground, you see a gentleman who's splashing down into the water.
Yes.
In this particular still frame, is your back to the person going in the water?
Yes.
What are you holding up in your hand?
My phone.
Were you taking a picture or something
Yeah, I was recording the video.
of yourself?
Yeah.
At some point when you were recording that video, did you realize something was going on behind you?
Yeah, when I was recording the video, and I was showing the whole, like when I was recording my video, I was showing my whole view, and that's how I noticed what was going on in the background.
All right. Did eventually you turn around and start actually recording what was happening?
Yes.
Do you remember when you first started recording, how many seconds or minutes was it after that picture where you're doing the selfie?
I'll say it was like right after that, because I was on Snapchat, so I saved that video and then I tried to take another video.
All right. I'm going to show you another still frame from our video. It'll be 3093, Judge. All right. Larry, and still 3093, do you see yourself in that photo?
Yes.
Are you standing or sitting?
Standing.
What are you doing in this particular frame?
I'm recording the incident.
All right.
World Star.
We're going to play Mr. Davis's video here. It's exhibit. Oh, pardon me. Did you get a chance to come to our office and review the video that you took?
Yeah.
And did you put your initials on the flash drive that your video is located on?
Yes.
I want to show you, Judge, if I can approach.
Yes.
To show you what's been marked as exhibit 21. Does that look familiar?
Yes.
Is that the flash drive you watched earlier today?
Yes.
Are those your initials on there?
Yeah.
And the date?
Yes.
I guess before we play, I'll ask you a few more questions. At some point, after you were finished recording, and we'll get to that part, did you tell law enforcement that you had a video of the incident?
Yeah.
And did you try to transfer that to a law enforcement officer?
Yes.
Was there a problem with the transfer?
Yes.
With the video that you transferred, is it garbled in some sense?
It's the video. It's like, what's the word? It's like blurry because I sent it from my iPhone to the officer's Android phone.
After that initial transfer of the video, did you have an issue with your phone?
Yes, it had water damage.
Or did you drop it in the river that day?
Yes.
Did you try to figure out a way to extract your original video out of the phone?
Yeah, I tried to do the iCloud because with iPhones you got your iCloud storage, and with Snapchat I tried to see, but like with your storage on Snapchat it'll back up to the cloud too. I tried to see if that was going to work, but it never worked.
Did you eventually send your phone in to try to be repaired?
Yeah.
Were they ever able to retrieve the original video you took?
No, they only got that video.
All right. At some point, did you tell the police where your phone was, where they were trying to repair it?
Yes.
And did you give them permission to take it?
Yes.
We're going to play it, Judge. It's exhibit 21. I move to admit and publish to the jury.
Any objection to 21? The 21 is received. Go
It's
ahead
not
and play it.
lengthy.
Wait till they give us the cue.
I don't expect this video to be very compelling, or we would have seen it already in these proceedings, but let's see what we got. I wonder if, let me see if I can, whoops. Ooh, we don't need that. I'm going to see if I can get a recording of this myself. Do a screen capture recording of the video. Come on, court. We're waiting on you.
Judge, we're having some technical issues with the video here. If you can just bear with us.
Ah,
We're ready.
I'm gonna make myself even smaller.
Mr. Davis, is that the video that you took back on July 30th, 2022?
Yes.
As you were recording it, were you watching what was happening at the same time?
Yes.
What did you see happen?
I saw him stab. I saw him stab the light skinned dude before and like slice his whole stomach open. And you could see him like push the next person in that video, but it's like real blurry. That's pretty much it.
Were you able to tell the people that had been injured?
Yes.
Did you and your group make any efforts to assist these folks that were injured?
Yes.
What did you do?
Me and my brother, we had helped carry. It was a girl, she had got stabbed, and then we helped. There was another dude that got stabbed in like his arm. I think we helped him. We walked him out the water too because he was like hysterical.
I don't have any questions, John.
Sir, your officer.
All right,
Mr. Davis,
Corey.
You provided 2 interviews to law enforcement. Do you remember that? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. One on August 10th of 2022, and then another one on March 7th of this year. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to make sure I understand your testimony correctly in terms of the video. Are you saying that you recorded, there was more video that you recorded, it was just lost in the transfer?
Yes.
Okay. And is what was lost in the transfer, I mean, you provided the police with information on what you said you saw, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you were asked today about what you saw, and you said you saw that a light-skinned dude got stabbed, right?
Yes.
Did you see more than that?
Yeah. It was like a tussle.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get into that with you for a minute, okay? So what you provided to the state in terms of what you say you observed, there's much more than that. True?
Yes.
Okay. And your, can I ask you this? Is your memory of events, so you give 2 statements, one about 11 days after the incident, 12 days, and one 21 months after the incident. Which memory in terms of the dates when you give those statements, is one better than the other?
Well, it'd be the one that was closer to the event. That'd be better. But I gave a statement to the officer that day.
Okay. So if I said to you, memory's normally better closer in time to an event, would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right. Now, on the interview that you gave in March of this year, though, you told the police that you remember it like it was yesterday. Remember that?
I don't remember saying them exact words, but
Officer Investigator O'Keefe said to you, you said you remember it like it was yesterday, though, and you say, yeah. Okay?
yep.
Okay. Now, and you had described, at least in your interview with the police, that you were really kind of paying attention to what was going on.
Yes.
Okay. In your statement in March of 2024, you say, how many of you remember this? I remember he had a hat on. He had on. Like, he looked like he wasn't supposed to be in the water. Like, he just came out of the bushes. He just came out. Remember that?
Yeah.
So is it your testimony today, under oath, that the person involved in this incident had a hat on and came out of the bushes?
No,
You told the police.
I
that-
told them that yes, but I don't. Like you said, it could be foggy. I don't think that's what it was no more though.
Okay, well, this is less than a month ago. You had this conversation with him, right? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And were you intentionally lying to the police?
No.
Okay. So where do you come up with the idea that he came out of the bushes?
Because that's why I saw him running to the bushes after the incident.
Okay. And tell me if this is fair. You tell the police he walks in the water. He had pants on and everything. He had a jacket on. Right?
Yeah, I don't recall that.
Well, the police say you said it. Do you deny saying it?
If that's what y'all got, I guess yeah, I said it. I don't remember saying it. I should say.
You don't remember March of this year talking to the police?
Yeah, I remember talking to him. I don't remember saying he had a jacket and a coat on.
Okay.
I remember he had on a hat,
Okay.
and he had on shorts.
Okay.
I don't recall no jacket though.
All right, but you don't dispute that you told the police that.
No,
Why would you tell the police that?
like you said, our memory is a little joggy over 2 years ago.
But you told them that you remembered it like it was yesterday. Right?
Yeah,
Do you?
that was a month ago. I said that though.
Okay. So a month ago, you remembered 21 months ago like yesterday. In the 26 days that have passed since then, it's all faded.
I object argumentative.
Sustained. You made your
Okay. You also said to the police, he came out of the bushes and he was taking pictures of the girls.
Yes, I said that.
You saw that?
No, I said that.
I understand you said it. Did you see it?
Yes.
So you saw Mr. Miu with his camera that afternoon taking pictures of little girls. That's what you're telling this jury.
Oh no. That's what I said.
No, like I said, I understand you said it. Is it true?
Oh, I don't know.
Why would you say it if you don't know if it's true?
It was a lot going on.
A lot was going on March 7th of 2024.
No, that.
Objection argumentative.
overruled.
Say it one more time for me.
Just to make sure you understand, okay? On March 7th of 2024, you have a recorded interview with investigators O'Keefe and Justness, I think is how you pronounce his name. They speak to you about this incident, right? Yes?
Yes.
And on March 7th of 2024, you tell these law enforcement officers that he comes out of the bushes and that he's taking pictures of girls, right? You tell them
Yes.
that.
Yes.
That's not true, is it?
I guess so. It's hard to say because like that's what I recall from the date that happened. That's what I was telling the officer.
Okay. You'd agree when you were interviewed by the officers back in 2022, you never said anything about him taking photos of little girls, right?
I don't remember that.
Okay. You don't remember ever telling them that he came out of the bushes either, do you?
I know I said that.
You certain of that, sir?
Well, no, it's over 2 years ago.
Okay. I just want you
But
to
I believe that's what I told them.
And you didn't tell him that he was wearing a hat and a jacket and pants back in 2022, did you?
But also 2022, we were on the water, we were drinking and everything. What I saw was a scuffle and a man stabbing people.
Okay. You said much, much more to the police on your interview in March of 2024. You provided far greater details. Okay?
Okay.
And that's the stuff that I want to talk to you about. You told the police he walked into the water fully clothed. That's not true, is it?
No.
You told the police he got caught taking pictures of little girls.
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
That's not true, is it?
I guess not. No. Actually, can I say I don't know on that one?
Beg your pardon?
With the pictures and the girl taking pictures?
Let him ask the question and please give an answer.
Okay.
Solid witness for the state.
When this whole thing kind of starts, you're making a video, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I think back in August of 2022, you said that you were taking a video, and I don't want to get this wrong. You're recording your girl because you said she was kind of arguing with you. Is that true?
No.
No. So if you said that, that wouldn't be true.
Wait, you said I was recording my girl because she was arguing with me.
I can just tell you what you said, and you can tell me.
Yeah.
I'm recording me and my girl because she has an attitude.
That sounds, yeah.
That sounds more.
Yeah, that sounds more like it.
Very good. So you were recording the person you were with because she had an attitude, according to you.
But yeah, but in a sense, I was still using this camera. So when I say I did that, it's like this.
Okay.
And that's how I seen what was going on behind me.
Now, okay. You indicated back in August of 2022, they asked you about what you saw when I said law enforcement. And you said, we just drinking and stuff. I wasn't even paying attention. Is that true?
Yes.
So you weren't paying attention to what was going on. You were just, and that's okay. You were just drinking and stuff.
Objection asked.
Overruled.
Right?
That was another thing that I said that was, yes. But I can't just say, you can't say I wasn't paying attention. If I noticed in my phone camera, I was still paying attention. That's how.
Mr. Davis, I'm not saying you weren't paying attention. That's what you said.
Right.
Okay. So in August of 2022, you say you weren't paying attention. In March of 2024, you said you remembered it like yesterday and were paying close attention. Which one's true?
Both of them. That's how I felt when I said it, right?
So you have the ability to not pay attention and pay close attention at the same time.
No.
Then how can they both be true, sir?
Objection.
You've made your point.
It's,
You don't have to answer.
My last couple questions, and then I'll let you go. Your initial interview with law enforcement back in August, you indicated that you said the following: I don't recall like what the old man looked like or anything. I don't even know if it was an old man. Do you recall saying that? Yes?
yep.
Okay. So back in August of 2022, you didn't, if I'm hearing or reading what you wrote correctly, said, you didn't remember what the person who was involved in this, if they were old, young, what, right?
Yep.
Have you, as this has been going on, the case, have you been following it like on media, social media? I'm not just talking about the trial. I'm talking about from the time this happened up until now. Have you been trying to gather information from those sources?
No, the only thing that I ever seen was right after it happened, the little news article about the stabbing and stuff. And that was pretty much it.
All right, Mr. Davis, thank you for your attention.
Any questions?
Just one question. I think I want to clear up this. Mr. Davis, did you know any of these folks other than the people on your tube?
Didn't know nobody but my girl, my sister, and her boyfriend, my brother.
Nothing else. Thank you.
Mr. Strapasi? All right, thank you, Mr. Davis. The witness coordinator in the back will tell you where to go next. It's 2:45. This is a good time for our afternoon break. Let's come back at 3 o'clock. Please take the jury out.
All rise for jury.
Okay, 15-minute break. I'll fast forward so we're ready. Afternoon break from Wednesday. Oh, some danger here. All right. And I'll take a look at questions and comments. Remind all of you about our Law Self-Defense Advanced course coming up Saturday, April 20th. The full-day course teaches you everything you need to know to be hard to Convict. All in one day, taught live by me, streamed to you at your computer. Currently still in the early registration period. Check it out at lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. I assure you, Nicolae Miu, had he taken this class and followed my instruction, would almost certainly not have been criminally charged at all, much less have been in jail for the last 21 months, awaiting charges of murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Law self-defense members first. Oh, by the way, so of course, members get their questions and comments answered for free. You might consider becoming a member. 99 cents for a 2-week trial, less than $10 a month if you stay a member after that. Or post your questions and comments on YouTube, and it's a $10 minimum super chat on YouTube. Don't do that. Become a Law of Self-Defense member. At least try it out for 99 cents at lawofselfdefense.com/trial. Let's see. Let's see. Question from Elman. Does the jury take into account what witnesses are wearing when they weigh testimony? I mean, they're just human beings, right? So, of course, people wear the clothes that they wear. People are brought up with different expectations in terms of being in a formal setting like a courtroom. Often when it's a criminal defendant, the defense attorneys have suits that they lend them because the defendants don't have suits themselves, and they want their client to present well to the court. I mean, this witness's problem was not really his dress. It was his testimony was just garbage. His video was garbage. I mean, it was almost pointless. It was pointless, I guess, except that last month the state interviewed him and got him to say a bunch of stuff that could be harmful to the defense if not impeached, and that's why they had Corey impeach him. Let's see. Someone's saying that perhaps if the defendant had said he was looking for goggles, that might have been misheard as looking for girls. I don't know, maybe. Also, people's memories are malleable, right? Especially short-term memories. So if someone hears goggles and then a bunch of people start screaming, he said he's looking for little girls, it could transform their short-term memory and thus their long-term memory on what they heard. We've all seen that thing on social media, right? Where there's an audio sound, and I forget exactly what the conditions are, but we all listen to the same audio clip, and some people hear apple and some people hear orange. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't expect much from this witness, if only because of the timing, and he didn't bring the state much. I mean, why would you even introduce that video? That was, I guess they introduced it for the shock effect, right? Because you can see blood across the belly of AJ, the disemboweled victim. That's the only reason I can think of, which is not really an appropriate reason. All right, so that's all the members' comments. I do try to catch up on a regular basis, folks, because at least in the member chat, the questions only spool up to a certain level. All right, it looks like super chats are up to date. Let's get back to the court proceedings.
Clerk, raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes.
Please have a seat in the witness chair. Mr. Anderson.
Can you please state your first and last name and spell your last name?
Sheena Leal, Lowell.
Sheena, where do you currently live?
Nebraska.
And did you used to live closer to the area?
Wisconsin, yes.
When did you move?
2 years ago.
And
Sheena Leal.
may I approach?
Yes.
So this is 26A. Were you with these folks tubing on the river on July 30,
Yes.
2022? And did you actually take this photo?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then is that you kind of cropped in there on the bottom?
Yes.
Okay. Were you in a relationship with Quentin at the time?
Yes.
So that was your connection to other people in the group?
Yes.
Are you and Quentin, or have you guys separated since?
Yes.
And have you had contact with anyone from that group since you and Quentin separated?
No.
And Sheena, do you have any prior criminal convictions?
Yes.
How many?
3.
On July 30, 2022, were you drinking?
No.
You were sober?
Yes.
Do you just never drink, or were you a sober driver that day, or?
I'm a recovering alcoholic.
Okay. And at some point along the tubing route, did something catch your group's attention?
We were coming around, it looked like a bend on the river, and a group of younger kids were screaming for help.
And what do you remember after that?
I remember as we were getting closer, they were yelling, "Help, please get this person away from us." The kids in our group got up off of the tubes, walked over to get in between to get him away from them.
And do you recall who the first ones that walked over were?
Madison,
And did Madison make contact with the gentleman or speak with the gentleman, the guy?
she was pointing downriver, just saying, "Get away, go, leave them alone."
Okay. And what happened after that you remember?
They all were basically doing the same thing, and then he punched her in the face.
Did you see which hand he used, right hand, left hand? Could you see from where you were?
No,
Okay. You just saw hand go to her face, but you couldn't tell.
I don't remember.
Okay. Were you looking from profile or from straight on, or?
From straight on.
Okay. And now I'm gonna show you some. Let's see. And have you ever seen the video of the incident?
No.
And when did you get to Wisconsin from Nebraska for your testimony?
Yesterday morning.
Okay, and you haven't, and when you spoke with us prior to testifying,
Yes,
and by phone, not in person?
yes,
So you still to this day haven't seen the video?
no.
After the guy punched Maddie, what did you see after that?
After he punched Madison, Dante punched him twice. He went under the water the first time. He came back up. Dante punched him one more time. And then it looked like he was punching them back, but he was actually stabbing them.
And when you say them, who did you see? And when I say he, you didn't know who he was at the time.
No, sir.
Now you know him to be Nicolae Miu.
Yes.
Okay. And when you said you saw him, you thought hitting people, who did you see him hit?
Riley, Dante, Tony, AJ.
And when you thought he hit Riley, could you see what she was doing?
She was yelling.
Did you see her push or strike at Miu at all?
No, she turned around and started running.
And what about, what do you recall about seeing Dante hit?
When Dante was hit, it just looked like he was being punched, and he retreated also.
And did you ever see Dante hit Miu after those first 2 strikes you saw?
No, sir.
And when you thought hit, turned out to be stabbed, was that sometime after Dante had hit Miu?
Yes.
Sustained.
Why don't you, as best as you can remember, what do you remember about, do you remember the specific sequence?
No.
Okay. And I want to bring up some stills here. Can we bring up 1980? And do you see yourself in that image?
I do.
Can you describe where you are in that image?
Standing up behind the two kids.
And are you in the white bikini top there in the background?
Yes.
Was your hair light back then?
Yes.
And you're facing pretty much straight on towards the cameraman and the person off to the left?
Yes.
Okay, can we go to 2166?
Heavy breathing in the
Where are you in
courtroom.
that? Do you see yourself in that photo?
Yep, in the same spot.
Facing straight on towards the cameraman, essentially?
Yes.
Can we go to 2564?
Sounds like someone snoring.
See yourself in that still frame?
Yes.
And
Standing up between the tubes.
can we go to 3003? Three zero zero three. Do you see yourself in that one also?
Yes.
Same thing, looking towards the
Yes.
incident? Okay. Do you recall seeing where Nicolae went afterwards?
Straight back up into the woods.
Do you see him go towards the woods or into the woods?
Towards the woods.
And then when you saw him going towards the woods, did you look away before you actually saw where he went?
Yes.
Did something else catch your attention?
Yes, Riley did.
So you were basically standing by your tubes and watched everything,
Yes.
and you're stone cold sober?
Yes.
Do you remember, did the incident happen fast, slow? How do you remember it?
It happened really fast.
Is it hard to say exactly what happened first, second, third?
Yes.
You're sure you saw him punch Maddie?
Yes.
Sustained.
And did you tell these, were you interviewed by law enforcement shortly afterwards?
Yes, I was.
And did you tell law enforcement what you saw?
Yes, I did.
Mr. Prophecy.
All right, Corey on cross.
Ms. Leal, you say that do you hear this group of the six boys, young men asking for help?
Yes.
And do you look over and see what's going on?
Yes.
And you see that there's one man there, right, Mr. Mue?
Yes.
Okay. And you say to the police that this guy was harassing them, right?
Yes.
Okay. What did you see him doing?
He was holding their tubes. He would not let them go.
He would not let the tubes go.
No.
Did you see Mr. Mue walk around the tubes and walk away from the boys downstream a little bit?
No.
You didn't see that?
No.
Okay. At that point, you say Madison gets off her tube and starts to walk over there. Is that right?
Yes.
And do you recall Mr. Mue walking over toward Madison?
No, Madison met him. At the tube.
At the tubes?
Yes.
So you're saying that Mr. Mue didn't walk towards Madison at all?
No.
If I told you the distance from where you were, where your group was to the incident is about 131 feet. Sound about right to you?
Yes.
Okay. So you're 45 yards or so away.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. And
Football
Madison,
terms.
so you say Madison walks over to Mr. Mue. She just starts yelling at him, doesn't she?
She put her hand up like this and said, "Get away from them."
Well, what she actually said on tape was, go, get your fucking ass, go.
What's the objection? Come on up, please, come on up.
Yeah, so probably a proper objection. I mean, Giraffacy is kind of testifying here, but jury's heard it. It is evidence. It's just not probably the appropriate place for that evidence. She didn't hear it. She can't testify to that.
The jury, again, the remarks of the attorneys are not evidence. What the witness says is evidence. So if the witness says something different than what the attorney says, you may disregard the attorney's suggestion entirely. Next question, please.
Ms. Lowell, do you hear Ms. Cohen say, go, get your fucking ass, go? Do you hear that?
I do not.
You see her pointing downriver to Mr. Mue, is that right?
Yes.
And do you see at that point Dante?
Yes.
Let me finish, okay? Next to Madison.
Yes.
Okay. Do you see Dante pointing for him to go downriver as well?
Yes.
Do you know where or if Mr. Mue has a group with him?
No.
Okay. So you wouldn't know if the group is actually behind you almost, right? And he's got to go the other way, upriver to get out of that situation, right? You wouldn't know that.
No.
Okay. And would you describe Madison Cohen as getting in Mr. Mue's face?
No.
You wouldn't describe her as getting in his personal space?
No.
Do you see her put her hands on him?
No.
Do you know if she did?
Yes.
You know she did?
I know she didn't.
All right. So you're testifying under oath, not only that you didn't see it, but you know she didn't do it.
I know she didn't.
Okay. Did you see Riley put her hands on Mr. Mue?
No.
And that's why this witness is so late for the state, because she's bad. Her testimony is completely inconsistent with other evidence by other members of her group and the group of 6 young men and the video evidence. It's completely contested.
You've testified that you saw Mr. Mue punch Madison. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. You don't recall with which hand. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Do you see Madison come back to your group?
Yes.
Okay. Is she holding her face?
Yes, she came straight to me.
What side of her face is she holding?
Her right.
Do you have a phone with you?
I do. It's shut off.
No, I don't mean right now.
Yes.
Back then I meant.
No.
Okay. On that day, it's okay. On that day, you didn't have a phone with you.
No.
There comes a time when I think Madison is calling.
It's important, right? This witness says Madison was holding the right side of her face. The other witnesses said Madison was holding the left side of her face. This witness says Madison came right to her. Right to her. Who would be in a better position than this woman to know? Unless, of course, these are all fabricated memories or lies.
911 though, so she has a phone, right? To your knowledge?
We found a phone and
Maybe she's like the phlebotomist. Maybe she's just bad with her rights and lefts.
hit a button to call 911.
Okay, here's my question. Do you recall anyone taking photographs of Madison's face?
No, the police.
You saw the police take photos of her
Yes.
face? Okay. Can I ask you this? There's a gentleman on the end there with a beard. See the gentleman who was taking the photographs of her?
There were several police there, not just one.
Okay,
So I
do you
don't know.
recognize that?
I believe I spoke with him once,
Okay.
but I spoke with probably 6 or 7 officers.
Can you describe the punch? It's been described various ways in court. Can you describe it?
It was just a quick punch as you would see somebody punch somebody.
So it's been described different ways. So it was just a punch, like straight on punch
Yes,
with his right hand. No?
I don't know.
Okay. And at that point, you see Dante punch Mr. Mue in the face.
Yes,
And you see Mr. Mue go down. Is that right?
yes.
Okay. And you see Dante hit him again.
He comes back up and Dante hits him one more time.
Do you recall Dante hitting Mr. Mue while Mr. Mue was on his back in the water?
No,
Are you saying that you saw Mr. Mue rise to his feet and Dante hit him again?
yes,
When that happened, did Mr. Mue go down again?
no. That was when he just started punching.
Okay. So just want to make sure I'm hearing you. Mr. Mue gets punched in the face by Dante and you see him go down. Yes?
Yes,
Then he rises up.
yes,
You being Mr. Mue.
Ask and answer.
Overruled.
He rises back up. Dante punches him again in the face. And then Mr. Mue, I think you describe it as gets to punching.
yes.
Do you know AJ Martin?
I very briefly met him before our tubing trip.
Do you, from your vantage point, do you see AJ Martin come up behind Mr. Mue and shove him?
No,
Do you see Mr. Mue, as you describe it, punch or stab AJ Martin?
yes,
Do you see AJ Martin, when that's happening, pushing Mr. Mue backwards into the water?
no,
Do you see do you see Anthony Carlson get stabbed?
yes,
Do you see Anthony put his hands on Mr. Mue, on Mr. Mue's kind of backside? When I say backside, like his back, shoulder area before that happens.
no, because he was facing him.
Okay. I know you don't know or didn't know Isaac Shuman. Did you see the interaction between Mr. Mue and Isaac Shuman?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you see the interaction between Mr.
I don't know that she's lying. I mean, she said she didn't see the video, but this could all just be fabricated memories that her brain is stitched together. You put her on a lie detector machine, she might pass. Doesn't mean she's telling the truth in any kind of absolute sense. It's obviously her entire testimony is inconsistent with the video evidence and everybody else's testimony.
Mue and Dante?
Yes,
Okay. And do you recall when that happens in this kind of like sequential?
Sorry, got to rewind it a little bit.
Know or didn't know Isaac Shuman. Did you see the interaction between Mr. Mue and Isaac Shuman?
no, I did not.
Okay. Did you see the interaction between Mr. Mue and Dante?
Yes,
Okay. And do you recall when that happens in this kind of like sequential events?
Dante was the second or third person.
Okay. So you didn't see Dante and Mr. Mue have contact after everything was done when Dante
No,
was there?
because they had come running to me.
So, to make sure I understand, in your recollection, Dante is second or third.
Yes.
Sheena, they're spelling it Shenna. What is wrong with these people? Oh my gosh, I got to go change my notes. I thought it was Sheena. Maybe she pronounces it Sheena. Why are they making my life so much more complicated? We're back to Boggle.
Well, I don't have any other questions for you. Thank you for your time today.
Hold on a second. Might be another question. Mr. Anderson?
Yes. Sheena, do you recall the questions I asked you on direct generally? I'll be more specific. Your interview with law enforcement, has this gotten a lot more detailed, the questions you've been asked here, than what you talked about with law enforcement?
Yes.
So you're trying to remember back almost 2 years ago.
Yes.
You're trying your best to answer as truthfully as best you can remember.
Yes.
Given where you were about 130 feet away, your ability to see would it have been affected depending on if there's other people between you and what's going on?
Yes.
When you testified on direct that you couldn't remember the sequence of events of when people were hit, turned out to be stabbed. So do you know for sure that Dante was the last one stabbed? Objection.
No.
It's a statement, but she's answering. If you hear objection, just hold your answer. Thank you.
I don't have anything else.
Mr. Shaughnessy?
There was a group of people around that incident when it was going on. Is that fair?
Not until after the fight ensued. We were the only people at first.
I guess what I'm going to ask you is this, Judge Michael.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you what has been moved into evidence as exhibit number 104. Okay.
This is one of the two red dot
Yes.
images. The state should not like this this image because it's very good for the defense. I mean, it just shows that blue dot of the defendant all by himself, surrounded by all these angry red dots. I wonder if that's what they're objecting to. But she just made a statement of fact that's inconsistent with the other evidence. I don't see how the defense is not allowed to pursue this.
I'm showing you what is.
There we go.
Number 104. Okay.
Yes.
Now, if you look at 104, there's a G1. I'm telling you that stands for the group of boys.
Yes.
Okay. And G2 is the general location of where I'm calling it the Carlson group, where your tubes were.
Yes.
Okay? These little dots have initials on them. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And those initials are the names of people that were involved in this.
Yes.
Okay. Do you recognize what RM would be?
Riley.
Okay. And MC?
Madison.
Okay. So I'm not going to quiz you, but you understand that's kind of where we're going.
Yes.
Okay. This has been, well, can I ask you this? Would you agree that based on your recollection of events, that this is an accurate depiction of the general location of where people were at the time that Madison and Riley were standing in front of Mr. Mue?
Yes.
Okay. And so tell me if this is fair. You're around G2. Can you bring that up here? Can you bring up 104? We have it.
You can use.
Can I just use this, Judge? Okay.
Summon the Elmo.
Can you, I don't want to, can you see that okay? Is that okay, ma'am?
Yep.
Okay. So you're standing in the general direction of where it says G2. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And you're looking toward what's going on, right?
Yes.
Right. And would you agree there are people between you and Madison?
Yes.
Okay. And having people between you and Madison could impact your ability to see specifics, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that, is that one of the reasons it was difficult for you to see how she was struck?
Yes.
Okay. So, Judge, can we approach real quick?
Yes.
Every time this image is put in front of the jury, it's good for the defense. I mean, just look at it. Is he not surrounded? Remember, his group, the defendant's group, is down from here. So all these people are blocking him from going back to his group. They don't have her dot here. Her dot is basically G2. This witness is not. All right. Chatter, chatter, chatter. Where are we today? So far, we have about 45 minutes to go in the day 3 proceeding. So I presume there'll be another witness. Fast forward, fast forward, fast.
Mr. Anderson.
Oh, Anderson has more. Redirect. This judge hasn't allowed a lot of that. Come on. Man, the years are tough.
This is frame 2166. I'll be trying to be really brief. Yes.
3:40 in the courtroom.
So in that still frame 2166, do you see Dante?
Yes.
Can you see yourself?
Yes.
And then can we have the Elmo? On this diagram 104, is Dante in between and would be obstructing view from G2?
Yes.
In that still frame, was he obstructing your view?
Yes.
Let's bring up 200.
Wrong answer.
Bring it up. I'll let both sides clean up from time to time.
She gave the wrong
Yes.
answer.
I'll re-ask it. Depending on what you're viewing, whether you're looking at something to the left of this frame or to the right of the frame or directly behind Dante would depend on whether Dante is blocking your view or not. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Shafferson.
Can you bring up 2166 here? That's this.
Recross.
Yeah, I'm ready for you. Ms. Lowe, while you might have a clear shot without Dante in your way right there, you don't have any idea if anything's actually happening at that moment, do you?
No.
That's it.
Ms. Lowell, thank you. You may step down. Please see the witness coordinator in the back, and she'll tell you where to go next.
I'll just pause it for a moment. Take a quick look at the questions. Not a good witness for the state. I hope the state's starting to wrap up, because if this is the general declining of quality of their witnesses, it's the next couple days are going to be tough. All of this woman's testimony is contradicted by other evidence, including other testimony, as well as hard video evidence. Let's see. Philip says, at what point does calling all the people in the two groups become cumulative testimony? Oh, well, I don't think it does, because their experiences and observations are sufficiently distinct from each other, and you're getting much different testimony. A clearer example of cumulative testimony would have been in the Derek Chauvin trial, the George Floyd trial, where you had a large group of people standing on a sidewalk, all basically doing the same things, right? Just standing there observing the same event at the same distance from the same perspective in front of them. And they called every one of those sidewalk people to be witnesses. That, I would argue, is cumulative because none of them had anything different to say. Here, there's different distances, different perspectives, different relationships, right? In the Chauvin trial, none of those people on the sidewalk knew George Floyd or knew Derek Chauvin. But here, it's more complicated than that. So I don't think any of this becomes cumulative under these circumstances. Let's see. Bum, 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 bum. Cycle Boy says she's just trauma mixing up everything. She has no coherent memories. I think that's right. I think she believes what she's saying. She didn't strike me as someone who was just lying, but that doesn't mean she's credible. Not given all the other evidence we saw, the video evidence we saw. I mean, and even if she means to be telling the truth, for example, she denies seeing Madison or Riley contacting the defendant. Well, we know they did. We know they made physical contact with him. It's right there in the video. It's incontestable. She didn't say it, so she's not a very reliable or credible observer, even if she's telling the truth as she knows it. And let's see, super chats. All right, back to the show.
Who is the next witness?
About 48 minutes. 48 minutes will be a little more than 30 minutes for us because I have it at 1.25 speed.
Mr. Williams, please come forward. Please face the clerk. Raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please have a seat in the witness chair. Just messed up.
I need 1 second here. I'm having a computer malfunction. Sorry. All right, sir, can you state your name? What town do you live in? How old are you? Were you part of a group of folks that were tubing down the river, the Apple River, near Somerset back on July 30th, 2022? Was part of that group. Did that include Nicolae Miu? Did you know Mr. Miu? How did you get invited to their tubing party? Did you know all the folks that were in the group?
Yeah.
Was Mr. Miu a coworker of yours? Was he the only person that wasn't a coworker of yours?
No.
Did you ever spend any time with him before that day?
No.
At some point, as you're going down the river, did one of your party lose a phone?
Yes.
Do you remember who that was?
No, I don't.
Was there any concern by the person who lost the phone?
Objection, no foundation.
Sustained.
Did you hear the person who lost the phone make any comments about that?
Objection, no foundation.
Sustained.
Is your group of tubes, are they connected together
Yes.
with rope?
Yes.
How many tubes did you have, if you remember?
Maybe about 8.
All right. Were you able, as you were going down the river that day, to converse with the other folks in your party?
Yes.
Once the phone was lost, were you able to hear conversation about the phone being lost?
No foundation.
All right. Did Mr. Miu at some point indicate that he wanted to go look for the phone?
Yes.
Did you see him do that?
Yes.
All right. At some point, well, first, did you see where he went?
Yeah.
Where did he go?
We went down river about, I don't know how far it was. It was probably good. I have, I'll say about 20 yards, 30 yards.
All right. Did you see him near any other groups?
No.
Eventually, did you realize that he was getting close to a group?
Oh. Kind of, seen him, I don't know if it was an argument, I don't know what it was, I seen him in confrontation. And pretty much all the same. I looked away for a quick second. But I looked back. That's when I see everything going down.
All right.
I rushed toward him.
Well, and you're getting ahead of me, Mr. Williams. So when you saw him go off and look for the phone, was he wearing snorkeling gear? All right. Did you have some concern about that?
Objection, irrelevant.
Sustained.
Did you have a conversation with the police after this matter occurred on August 3rd of 2022? And was at your home in Inver Grove Heights? And do you remember telling the police that you had some concern?
Objection, leading and irrelevant.
Sustained. I don't understand why his concern is our concern today. So that's why it's not relevant. It is a leading question.
Judge, can you approach?
Yes.
Man, this is the state flailing. I don't know what they're hoping to get out of this witness, but it doesn't sound good. I mean, what did he just say? Did he say, I looked away for a quick second, looked back, and I see the defendant going down and people rushing towards him? I mean, the audio is terrible. It sounds like his mic is off, and he's, in any case, he's leaning far away from it, but that sounds like self-defense. And now it sounds like what the state's trying to get out of him is what? Just that the defendant, he thought the defendant was acting weird because he had a snorkel and a mask? And he's fighting to get that in. That's what the much of the state's opening was. Well, this defendant, he was acting weird. He was acting bizarre. He was acting in a way that would alarm any reasonable person because he had snorkeling gear in the short water. There's the group. Chug, chug, chug. Chug, chug, chug. I'm not sure why that image is up right now. Just a coincidence that 4 people are drinking at the moment that photo is taken, including 3 right next to each other. I'll tell you one thing, nobody's starving. I wonder what those grocery baskets look like. Oh, I hate it when it does that. Okay. I'm going to fast forward, try to get past this. All right. Looks like we're coming back.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Williams, if I showed you a transcript of your conversation with Investigator Sheppy from August 3rd of 2022, would that help you refresh your mind with regard to your memory with regard to any concerns you had that day?
Objection, he never said his memory's not refreshed. He's not been asked the question because the previous.
Did you have any concerns that day with Mr. Miu getting in his snorkeling gear and snorkeling down by these other groups?
Yes, I did.
All right. And if you remember telling the officer what your concern was?
That people was going to think that he was up to no good as a predator or whatever. That's my thing. That's like
As you were keeping an eye on him, did you see him talking to 2 women? Did you see anything that may have happened between him and the 2 women?
No.
Did you see him involved in a fight with anybody?
I did look away for a second, and when I looked back, we did see a brawl in the water where me and Nesto started rushing towards him to help him out and break it up.
All right. When you saw that, was Mr. Miu in the water already?
Yeah.
All right. The group was one of the groups that he was snorkeling near. Did you see what the age was of the folks in that group?
And who was snorkeling with? Ask me the
When he was
question
snorkeling downriver from where your group was,
Huh?
were you able to determine the ages of any of the people downriver that he was snorkeling by?
No.
All right. Do you remember having a conversation with Investigator Williams, or pardon me, Investigator Sheppy about that?
I might have. I don't remember.
All right. If I showed you the transcript, would that refresh your memory?
That's what.
What page? Approach, Coach.
Yeah.
Mr. Williams,
I don't know why this is relevant. What's his perception of the group's ages? How is that relevant? We know what their ages are. We know what the fact is. He's looking from a distance. If he testifies they look like they were 9 years old to him, the jury sees the pictures of these 6 youths.
I'll ask you to read from the middle of the page down a couple of lines and let me know when you're done. Can I refresh your memory?
Yeah.
What did you tell the police you thought the ages of the boys were?
Say that again?
What did you think the ages of the people were in the tubes downriver?
17 to 20.
Is that what you told the police?
Could be, yeah.
One thing I forgot to ask you. Just, strike that.
What was the point of that testimony to the state?
When you first saw the physical altercation occur, what did you think was happening?
I don't know. We just rushed down and helped him out,
All right. Did you have a belief that Mr. Mue wasn't involved in the fight at first?
Seeing people on him, so he had to be involved.
Is it fair to say it's been, I don't know, almost 2 years since you talked to the investigators back on August 3rd of 2022?
Yep.
You may not remember exactly everything you told them.
It's possible.
Do you have a memory of telling them what you thought was happening in the fight before realizing that Mr. Mue was involved in it?
Yes.
What did you tell him?
I think I may have told him that I was concerned about the young kids being intoxicated. We didn't want to stop by them. We want to stay far away from them as possible, but the pedophile thing, that's why I watched. I didn't want that, That's
Sure.
possible I could have told him. I didn't want to think, anyone to think that he was up to no good.
Sure.
He's looking for a phone.
Did you see Mr. Mue injuring anybody?
No.
By the time you got down to him, was he already up on his feet and heading back?
Yes.
Did you see any injuries on him?
No.
He wasn't bleeding?
I didn't see anything.
At some point, did you realize that there had been some folks that were injured in the river?
Yes.
Folks that were injured in the river in the spot where he was involved in the altercation?
Laying along the side of the river, yes.
As you walked up to Mr. Mue, did he say anything to you as he came up to you?
No.
Did he ever say anything to you about what happened?
We never spoke after that again. After that, everything was just quiet.
How serious were the injuries of the folks that you saw injured?
Objection beyond his opinion, I guess.
What did you see? Pardon me. What did you see as far as the injuries of the folks in the river?
Bad.
Did you call 911?
That's it.
Did you call 911 more than once?
I'm about 2 or 3 times, but I'm not sure.
Why did you do that?
Concerned about the people on the edge, laying on the bank of the river.
Did you attempt to give other assistance?
No, I just went and met paramedics at the river, met the bridge, and kind of walked them back where everybody were,
What those paramedics were there some law enforcement folks too?
Yes, it were.
And I think if I understand what you're saying, you sort of directed them to where these injured people were.
Yes.
Anybody else from your group do that?
No.
You're the only person from your group that came over to help?
I think so. Yeah.
At some point, did you end up walking back to your group?
Yes.
Did anybody say anything to you about what you saw?
No.
Anybody ask any questions?
No.
Did you eventually float away?
Got on tube and we didn't listen to no music. We just floated and just ready to get off the river at that time. We didn't want to be there no more.
Was there any kind of conversation as you're floating down the river?
Never. No.
At some point, did the officers think that you had some videos on your phone of what had happened? Had you taken some videos that day?
Yeah, I took videos, just our party together. And when we stopped, took videos of each other, not of it. That's about it.
You didn't have any videos of this actual incident?
No.
You know how long your group stayed in that area before floating down the river to the end?
Could have been about 15 minutes.
How long did it take you to reach the end of the trip from where this incident happened?
About another half an hour, 20
Um,
minutes to half an hour.
What did you do once you got to the end?
Turn the tubes in and just prepare to go back to our cars, get on the bus and go back to our cars.
All right. At some point, was there more contact with law enforcement at the end?
Yes,
Did you witness that?
yes.
Nothing else.
Mr. Nelson?
Williams or Von Williams? I've seen it written both ways.
Williams. Yeah, well, it's Eric Von Williams. Yeah.
So your middle name's Von, but your last name's Williams.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So Mr. Williams, I'm Aaron Nelson. I represent Mr. Mue. I want to ask you some questions too, okay?
Yeah.
You were with Nick that day, right?
Right.
There's been some pictures that I think have been 106 through 110, please. There's been some pictures of your party of 10 people or so on the river. Have you seen any of those photos from that day?
Yeah.
110.
Yes.
So that's exhibit 112. You see yourself in that picture?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah.
And next to you is Nick Miu, correct?
Yep.
And in that photo, you see him wearing sunglasses. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you remember that day? Did he have sunglasses on most of the time?
Yes.
Were there times that you saw him? You said he saw him with a snorkel and goggles, right?
Yes.
He certainly went up to look for the phone, and I'm going to get to that.
Yes.
Prior to looking for the phone, had you seen him resting in the river or using his snorkel and the goggles anytime in the river?
No.
You didn't see that?
No.
Okay. Had you seen him at times without his sunglasses on during that trip?
No.
And then here's a photo 110. This photo, you see Mr. Mue with a hat on?
Mm-hmm.
Said yes.
Yes, yes.
That's all right. Were there times that day that you saw him with a hat on?
Not sure. With a hat on?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I'll be honest, I can't remember.
Okay. Do you remember whether it was? Do you remember not having the hat on or having the hat on, or you're unsure about either?
I'm not sure about either.
Okay, that's fair. Showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 111. Does that appear to be another photo of your group?
Yep. Yes.
Move the admission to 111.
Any objection?
No.
111 is received.
And you see Mr. Mue in that photo there. He's got sunglasses and a hat on, correct?
Yes, I do.
You're not in that photo?
No.
Is that right?
No.
So sometimes people would wander off from the group maybe and do something else?
Yes.
Or you're just perhaps just not in that photo. You might be just behind the person or taking the picture.
I can't remember.
Okay. In all of those pictures, we saw Mr. Mue had a shirt on. Is that right? Do you, and then I believe when he went with his snorkel to look for the phone, do you remember, was his shirt on or was his shirt off?
I can't remember.
Did you have a shirt that day?
Yes.
Did you sometimes take your shirt off?
No.
Okay. You kept it on the whole time? Did you snorkel at all?
No.
Did you get in the water and swim?
No.
Okay. There was, your group of people was generally people my age, your age.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Some people were having a couple of beers.
Yeah. Yes.
Did you observe, were you intoxicated?
No. No.
Did you observe anybody in your group that you thought was intoxicated?
No.
Were you worried about anyone being loud or obnoxious or rowdy or anything along those lines?
No. No.
You'd said that you had, I think, and I want to really make sure we get this, you were concerned people were going to think he was up to no good, that he was a predator. You said that, right?
Yes.
I want to really get into that, okay, a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
That's something that you had in your own mind, right? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
And that's a concern that you had when you learned he was going to go snorkel down the river, correct?
Right.
You didn't think he was up to no good, agreed?
No. No.
You agree?
I agree. I agree.
You didn't think he was a predator, you agree?
I agree.
You had no reason to believe, based upon what you had seen him do that day, that he was preying on little girls.
No.
You agree with that?
I agree with that.
But you, like a lot of us, are able to kind of think about what are other people going to think, right?
Exactly. Yes,
And I would imagine on the river that day, you saw other groups of people, right?
yes,
And some of those other groups of people appeared to be intoxicated.
yes,
And some of those, you said young people, right?
yep, yes.
And you look about my age, like, how old does somebody need to be to not be considered young by you?
How, you said how old?
Yeah. So when you say young people, do you mean like littles or do you just mean like 25 and under?
Teenagers and 25, under 30.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So it's not like they're young.
No,
So the people that you saw on there, you saw some people in this age group and teenagers, 20 somethings that were intoxicated, correct?
yes,
And based upon your observations, you were kind of worried about some of those people, right?
yes,
Based upon your life experiences, you know, a group of drunk young men might not be people you want to be around, correct?
yes.
And that was a concern that you had, right?
It's a concern we all had.
Sure.
Mhm.
And that you're like, look, drunk young people, when they get together, bad things can happen sometimes, right?
Right.
And that's why you were trying to be kind of more conservative, like, let's just stay together here. Let's not mix ourselves up with these drunk young people that might be dangerous.
We had made agreement not to stop by young people, stop a little farther down the river.
And why were you personally, all you can talk about is you, why were you concerned about not stopping by young people?
Intoxication.
Okay. And why were you're worried about young people that were intoxicated? Do they cause problems sometimes?
It could, it's a possibility, but
Do they have conflicts sometimes?
it could be conflicts.
All right. Do they sometimes, are you concerned about their decision making when they're intoxicated and in a group of young men?
I was just worried about what Nick was doing, looking for a phone. I didn't want anybody to think
Sure.
he was up to no good.
And if there were non-intoxicated people, you wouldn't be worried about that, correct?
I'll still be worried about that.
What was that?
I would still be worried about that.
But you were more worried because they were intoxicated.
Right.
And I imagine you were more worried because there's more of them, correct?
Check, Your Honor. Sustained.
You had said, I think you'd said before, we were out there with his,
Keep in mind, this is a state witness. This is a state witness. He's saying my concern was that I thought that other drunk people might misinterpret what the defendant was doing because all the defendant was doing was looking for a phone. Perfectly innocent.
his wife and these young guys, they're quick to test us. That's what you told the police, right? I think you're talking in general, not that day, but in general, did you feel as if sometimes young men as a group are quick to test you older men?
Well, yeah, I do remember that conversation that they,
You did say that.
talked to me, yeah.
And that's because in your life experience, sometimes young men get a kick out of challenging perhaps an older guy, right?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled. That's an answer if you are able to.
Yeah, I ran into it a couple of times, so,
Yeah.
yes.
And that's why you were concerned,
Yeah.
right? When you saw Nick come back, is that right?
Yes,
Fair to say he was quiet.
it's quiet. Nesto grabbed Nick and walked him back, and I kept going forward.
Okay, so your interaction with Nick there on the river was very brief, right?
And Nick, well, with everything that went down, me and Nick didn't talk.
It sounds like you're walking in this direction towards Nick,
Mhm.
and then Ernesto gets there first, is that right?
Right.
And then Ernesto grabs Nick and helps Nick get back to the group in some manner, right?
Yes,
You don't know because you're not looking at him, right?
No.
Because you continue on in that direction to go down to see what all the yelling and the screaming is about, correct?
no,
And at some point, 15 minutes or so, you eventually go back to the group where Nick is, correct?
yes,
And at that point, Nick is sitting there quietly, correct?
yes,
You don't hear him say anything, agreed?
No.
You make observations of his person?
yes,
He appears to be somber. Yes?
quiet, yes,
Have you heard the expression white as a ghost before?
yes, sir, yeah, yes, it is.
Did he have that look about him?
He had a look, I just say he had a look, and yes, he did.
Have you seen people when they're in shock before?
No, I personally, no,
Okay. Would you know what that looked like if you saw it?
probably would.
You look like he was in shock.
Object, Your Honor. No foundation.
Sustained. Wait for the next question.
That's all.
Mr. Smith, anything else?
Quick witness not particularly helpful for the state. You know, sometimes you have to call these witnesses as a state because you know if you don't call them, the defense will call them.
Give you further instructions.
Then it looks like you're hiding them.
For 10, do you have a short witness? Is there any administrative matters that we can tend to? Are we offering exhibits that need to come in?
Yes, and I probably the things we can talk about outside.
Anything we can do in the presence of the jury is my point. Mr. Shravasi?
No, I can't. I don't think we're in that position at this point, Judge.
All right. So given the hour, I think we will simply adjourn. We'll send everyone home. I'll give you the same reminders as before. No talking about the case. Do not begin your deliberations. Do not conduct any independent research or investigation. Do not visit the scene. Do not speak with the media, the attorneys, the parties, the public about the case. And do not read any media accounts or engage in any social media accounts about the trial. We will get started tomorrow at 8 a.m. Please come back at that time and we'll get a prompt start to the trial. Please take the jury out.
All rise for the jury.
Please be seated. We are outside the presence of the jury with the attorneys and Mr. Miu. We do have at least one illustration on the easel that needs to be marked. And I think we have another one over here with the clerk. That too has to be marked. So we have a record of what it is. Mr. Anderson, I can't remember who you used the one with the clerk. You'll have to connect the dots for us.
That was Anthony Carlson.
Yeah, Tony Carlson.
So the Tony Carlson illustration is Exhibit 77?
Yes.
Although, yes, it was used during that. I believe I objected never sustained. So, I mean, you can certainly mark it, but I don't know
The objection was to drawing Isaac on there, not everything else.
Yeah, I mean, it was used during the trial, so I just want to have it marked.
Sure.
I don't know what value it will have, but I just don't want to lose sight of marking things that have.
Judge, and I don't think I've offered the group photo of Nicolae's group.
No objection.
Offer.
What number is it?
No, we're just labeling A. That's the small one. Right, 12A, Judge.
All right, so 12A is the blow up of the group shot of Mr. Mue's group, correct?
Yes.
And which illustration is this?
This is the one I did with Sandra Mue.
80? Okay, I'll have that marked. All right, is there any other exhibit that needs to be addressed?
Don't think so. Can I ask the clerk, are there any that you have, we talked about so far that haven't been admitted or received?
Mr. Shravasi, any exhibits that we need to tend to?
I think we marked them.
Got them all?
Yep.
Is there something you want to talk about outside the presence of the jury?
Well, I don't know if you want to put on the record the objection. There was the discussion at the bench.
Do you want to make a sidebar record, Mr. Nelson?
I think it was Mr. Trofasi with the third round of questioning, maybe is probably the.
No, I think the one we're talking about is Mr. Williams and his concern about Mr. Miu's intentions being misunderstood by others. We had a lengthy sidebar about that, whether it was relevant or irrelevant. And you made an objection.
I objected that it was irrelevant. Your Honor listened to arguments and eventually ruled that it was minimal probative value, but enough to be relevant. And so we did what we did.
If you want to add to the record, Mr. Mill or Mr. Anderson?
I think our point was there's been significant challenges against the children's credibility and that they jumped to conclusions, but then we have an adult who had the same concerns. So I think that's why we thought it was highly relevant.
And that's what persuaded me, was drawing the connection back to the Shuman group, and it validated their perceptions or concerns. Again, it had minimal probative value, but it was relevant. We weren't dwelling on that topic. So I don't think there's any unfair prejudice to the defense. Something else?
No, I was going to just articulate my argument, but probably not necessary.
All right. Okay, we will resume tomorrow, 8 a.m. We're in recess.
All right, everybody. So this is what I'm going to do. That was the end of day 3. I am going to do day 4 today, but I'm going to set it up as a second show. So I'm going to wrap this one up here, except to remind all of you about our law of self-defense. I will look at Q&A before I sign out. Our law of self-defense advanced class on Saturday, April 20th. Everything you need to know in a single day about being hard to convict if you're ever compelled to use force in defense of yourself, your family, or property. Believe me, Nicolae Miu wishes he had taken this course before he went tubing, July 30th, 2022. If he had and he'd taken my advice, he would not be in this position. He would not have spent the last 21 months sitting in jail, unable to make $1 million bail and facing the prospect of conviction of first-degree murder and the rest of his life in prison without possibility of early release. Don't be Nicolae Miu. Take this class. Lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. Still 50% off. We're still in the early registration period through this week. Lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. If you can't make this particular date, and this is a live class taught by me, streamed to you at your computer using Zoom. If you can't make the date, sign up anyway, because we'll make the recorded playback of the live class available to all the registered students for at least 2 weeks after the class, so you can watch it at your leisure in the following 2 weeks. But that only goes out to registered students, so you need to sign up. Sign up today. Lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. And let me take a look at Q&A. So I'll do the Q&A, then I'm going to close out this show, and I'll immediately set up another show for probably just an hour from now, just long enough for me to run out and grab something for lunch. And we'll be jumping right into day 4 and hopefully be able to get all the way through day 4 today. That's my goal. Let's see. Law of Self-Defense members. Kyle says, before I carried every day, I was younger and more ready to intervene in what I perceived as disparate incidents. The responsibility of going armed has long since dispossessed me of that tendency. I would concur, Kyle. Let's see. Someone suggesting that what this last witness, Eric Von Williams, pointed out was prudence. The prudence of not perhaps presenting yourself as somebody that may be a person of interest to a bunch of drunk young men on the river, that they might misperceive you as having bad intent. And that could all be true, but prudence is not an element of self-defense. That's not required. As long as you're not doing anything unlawful, not provoking a confrontation, and other people misunderstanding your conduct is not provocation. It's not relevant to the claim of self-defense. Closed captioning should have been working, folks. I remember seeing it. All right, that's all the members. Let me take a look at the super chats. And we're all cut up there too. So, folks, I'm going to close out this show. A couple thousand of you here. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, by the way, why not subscribe? Give me a thumbs up, especially when you sign out of the show on mobile. I think that's your opportunity to do that. But I will immediately set up another program for 2 p.m. Eastern time. So a little less than an hour from now, and we'll dive right into day 4, the next day from today, day 4 of Wisconsin v. Miu, the Apple River stabbing trial. All right, folks, with that out of the way, I'll see you all in a little under an hour. Until then, I remain Attorney Andrew Branca for the Law of Self-Defense. Stay safe.